It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. We have put together, Benito has put together a really good panel for you. Alex Kantrowitz is here from the Big Technology Podcast from Consumer Reports, Nicholas De Leon. And for the first time, and I'm so glad to get her on, you see her all the time on Tech News Weekly, from PC Magazine, Emily Drybelbis. There is lots to talk about, including Spotify changing its tune, as it should. Chaos is coming for startups, says Alex, and a new microprocessor made of brains. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 982, recorded June 2nd, 2024. International Trash. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we get together some of the best people in the world to talk about, the wild world of technology these days, and we have a good panel. I always like having Alex Kantrowitz on. Last time you were here was for Google's I.O. Talk. You have done some amazing things since. He hosts the Big Technology Podcast and newsletter. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Leo. Great to see you again.
Author of Always Day One, which is, as one might imagine, the Amazon story. It's great to see you, Alex. Thanks for coming in. And speaking of coming in, he's actually in studio, came all the way up from Tucson, Arizona, Nicholas De Leon.
Yes, hello.
So nice to see you.
Thank you, Leo.
Senior electronics reporter for Consumer Reports. It's nice to see you and your partner in the studio today. That's wonderful. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
And for the first time ever, which is crazy because Emily's been on the network forever, Emily Drybelbis is here. She is at PCMagazine.com and regularly appears on Tech News Weekly. Hi, Emily. Nice to meet you.
Hello. Yeah, nice to meet you.
I can't believe, it's about time. That's all I can say. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Very excited about it.
We have... There's no theme to the stories today. They're all over the place. They're crazy. From ultrasonic coffee to Spotify. Well, let's mention Spotify, because I think this was a big story earlier this week that Spotify said, we're going to kill the car thing, which is a device you add to your radio that lets you stream Spotify, even though we only started selling it a year and a half ago. And, oh, by the way, no refunds. Well, there was such a uproar over this that they are now saying, okay, if you've got a receipt or even an emailed invoice, we'll get you your money back. There's been lately some good stories that consumers have been able to stand up to big tech and get them to change their policies.
Yeah, this one bothered me. I mean, we didn't cover it.
It happened so fast you didn't have a chance.
I was doing other stuff last week. But Spotify has all the money in the world, and they were not going to refund the customers who bought the car thing, which, from what I saw, I never owned one, but it got good reviews. People liked it. But they said, hey, we're basically breaking this device. Sorry about that, is what they said. And then people were mad, as they should have been. It's like, hey, I bought this thing like yesterday, basically, and you're just...
Yeah, they were still selling it right up to the end.
Yeah.
$90. Imagine if you bought it last month and then suddenly told it's going to stop working in December.
Yeah.
And you don't get your money back.
And I saw folks saying, okay, just open source it. Like, why do we have just making it e-waste overnight? It's like, this is what's going on here. So I'm glad to see that they reverse course here.
Yeah.
Can I just ask why it ever why does it exist? What does it do? Why wouldn't you just plug your phone in?
You are obviously a millennial. And don't remember the days when cars came with radios. And that's all.
I do.
This allowed you to take one of these funky old cars and turn it into a modern streaming car. That's why you needed it.
What about like an aux cord?
Well, this was basically an aux cord.
I guess my iPhone doesn't even have that plug anymore. So.
Well, there you go, right? You don't have a courage jack to plug into your aux cord.
I think it was an alternative if your car didn't have CarPlay or Android Auto and you still kind of wanted the bigger screen for like Album Art or whatever, you can hook your phone up to that and leave your phone for Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever the case may be. So
you could see it is kind of a hodgepodge, though. Here's a picture from Engadget of an iPhone plugged into a a lightning to headphone jack adapter plugged into I don't know what, and then the Spotify thing plugged into the aux jack. This is a kludge, but people wanted it, I guess, and for a subset
well, they
of
didn't
people.
though. That's why it failed, right?
Oh, you think they didn't sell it?
Like they built this. They built this at the height of the stock market stupidity in the middle of zero interest rate policy, where you could get funding for things that just kind of like seemed like a zany idea and it was worth building. I mean, this came out in April 2021, which was like just a few months before the height of the market, before the big correction. I mean, obviously we're back up right now, but it would never be greenlit in this era. It was built for a different era. I mean, many decades back, where now like your standard car is going to come equipped with Bluetooth connectivity. Everybody knows how to work it. Now, oftentimes you have CarPlay, like whether it's Apple or Android, and the whole thing seems ill-advised. I look at this entire thing and it seems like a product of a financial era that was and just would never, ever, ever happen in today's market.
You actually...
I feel fully vindicated in asking why it exists. That was a very, very eloquent answer to that.
Yeah, I gave you the mean answer, and I apologize.
I'll get you back.
Yeah, that's all right. You can just kick me. Actually, this leads us into your really interesting piece in big technology, Alex. VC says chaos is coming for startups, ads, and online business as generative AI eats web. But more even than that, it's just really, I think, this whole era of everything is free on the web is didn't make financial sense. So the whole thing's falling apart.
Exactly. And so the backstory here is that Joe Marchese, who's a VC at Human Ventures, who had an ad tech company called Truex that he sold for 21st Century Fox, and he ran advanced advertising and advertising revenue at Fox Networks for years. He came on Big Technology Podcast with Ben Smith and Naima Raza for a discussion about whether generative AI is going to kill publishers, whether news publishers can survive this generative AI era. And I think it was an appropriate conversation for the time, but afterwards he texted me and he goes, by the way, chaos is coming for everybody else as well. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? So we got on the phone and I wrote it up in Big Technology. And his big thing is that the web is basically an infrastructure. The web today is an infrastructure built on paying for or optimizing for referred traffic. That's referred traffic that goes to site booking, travel booking engines like Kayak, health websites like WebMD, and even startups need that referred traffic to build user bases in the beginning. And the conversation around generative AI recently has been so focused on news publishers. Can news publishers survive this? We've almost sort of lost the plot on everything else that's going to be thrown into chaos. And like most of the things when it comes to digital business, the news publishers really are the canary in the coal mine. And if we do have the web ingest even 10 or 20, if we have generative AI ingest only 10 or 20% of the web, that could be chaos again for a large part of the ecosystem. Every business that's been built on the web is going to have to rethink the way that it operates.
You know, I mean, we're suffering as a podcast too from the same thing, and I don't think it's just I think it's a little minimizing it to say it's AI. I think it's much more than just AI. You point out to exactly the problem, which is that the web was built on this notion of referrals, of attention, being able to sell the eyeballs. And it doesn't hold up in the modern age. It's not just journalism, all of it. We got used to free stuff, but it isn't free. It never was free. And there's got to be a way to monetize Facebook and Instagram and Google. And the way is by selling your information. And people don't want that. Cory Doctorow says that ad blocking is the greatest consumer boycott in history. And Pew recently said 52% of Americans run ad blocking technologies. That's why Google, by the way, this week is going to break your ad blocker with Manifest v3. Google, which is an ad business, posing as a search engine, doesn't like the fact that so many people are running ad blockers. The whole thing is collapsing around our heads. And I wonder if Chrome is going to survive. How many people are going to switch to Firefox because I can't use my ad blocker on Chrome anymore? This is going to happen next week.
I've already switched to Firefox because I think Chrome has actually gotten worse as a browser, and Firefox is cleaner and faster. And you're right, people have definitely been using ad blockers. But I think publishers have really mounted an effective defense. So if you're going to regularly visit a site, let's say YouTube or NBCnews.com, they do have this interstitial that will come up and ask you to turn off your ad blocker, make you turn off your ad blocker in order to continue consuming the content. So I think the publishers are going to be less hurt by this stuff than we initially thought at the outset. But yeah, maybe it does give consumers one more reason to move away from Chrome.
Marchese was
because
right.
Ads, of course, slow down websites and it just will become even slower compared to the others.
Right. Marchese was right. It's chaos, that's for sure. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I've just been thinking about since ChatGPT released, like we need a new business model basically for the web, and like what could that be? I do think that selling data and ads are two things people don't really like. So there is probably room to come up with something new. The only thing I've thought of, at least for the news case, is if this was possible, if when an AI kind of scrapes its database, scrapes its content, if it pulls information from a certain website, it could just like pay that website upon crawling their page, like drop a coin, and then they get paid. That's the new referral, is like when the AI scrapes and pulls from them. I feel like that's fair. Like they should, if they're quoting information from some other website that's not theirs, I feel like they should pay for it. And right now there's no way to do that.
Micropayments. In fact, we've been talking about micropayments for as long as I've been covering technology. Right.
That's what it is.
Do we have
just,
that
I feel like
capability?
it needs to go upstream.
Yeah. This is what Brave was supposed to do, right? With their BAT cryptocurrency, that you were supposed to pay a certain percentage out to the sites that you visited in order not to see the ads, so they could block the ads. I don't think that's really taken off. You said the two things people don't like are ads and being spied on, but the thing they hate even worse than that is paying. So we're really stuck. Well, I don't want to pay for that either.
This wouldn't be other people paying. This would be like OpenAI. So before the answer hits ChatGPT, OpenAI is responsible for paying the source that contributed to that answer through a small payment during the process of generating the answer.
Have you seen what Perplexity AI is proposing? They've just announced they're going to have a tool called Pages. They say it's for researchers. Perplexity Pages, or teachers will let you generate your own web page composed of content from everybody else, right? That's kind of what the Arc search does already. You have this button called Browse for Me that builds a page and doesn't ever send you to the original source page. Perplexity's
I have a hot take on this one.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with Arvind Srinivas, the CEO of Perplexity, and he's on multiple podcasts, including my own, talked about how he has had conversations with Jimmy Wales from Wikipedia. And Wales was, obviously very interested in generative AI technology, because a lot of the things that you would do with a generative AI search engine, you would use Wikipedia for, trying to find information about topics you're interested in, for instance. My understanding, I think Wales just wanted to build some sort of generative AI tool on top of Wikipedia. And from my understanding, it hasn't gone anywhere. But what Srinivas, I think, is trying to do with this Pages thing is trying to build a more personalized Wikipedia that can go into any topic that you want. So effectively, instead of having to go to a website and hoping they have a page built for the topic you're interested in researching, what he wants to do is build a new Gen AI version of Wikipedia that can, yes, generate pages for different topics that are common and interesting to people, but also custom-built pages for something that you might be specifically interested in, but can't find that synthesis of information on the web.
I should point out, Wales has nothing to lose. He doesn't take advertising on Wikipedia and is already being completely abused by Google. Google's knowledge graph is Wikipedia. And Wikipedia is losing in both ways. So anything that's different would probably be something Jimmy Wales would be interested in. But if I were the New York Times, I'd be very nervous about this, right? New York Times is already suing OpenAI because they use New York Times content, or used to. I imagine they've stopped by now. Use the content for generative AI, but OpenAI is just paid big money to Reddit. They're paying, I think, News Corp. That's right, because they need the content. But
which is basically what I was talking about. Just they have to
they
pay
need to pay
for.
them.
They need to pay for it. So they've chosen to do that through these content licensing deals. But I don't even know how you would value those deals? Like, are they paying these publishers the right amount? I don't know. So I really feel like this is all just going to have to be worked out. And I really hope that those companies didn't sign bad deals that ultimately tank them as well.
Well, Reddit did a $60 million deal, right? But of course, they're not selling their own content.
Enough?
They're just a platform. They're selling my content.
They're selling
your
something
content.
I wrote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
They're selling the kid who said put Elmer's glue on pizza. And I don't know.
It's working out great for everybody.
Yeah.
So, we have problems on both sides. One is garbage content generated by these AIs because they can't distinguish between a joke and a genuine suggestion. The other is they're disintermediating the original source of all this content so that users don't have to click through. They can just read the generated page. And by the way, these AI companies are burning money because the creation of these LLMs is so hideously expensive, they can't possibly generate enough revenue to pay for it. So the whole thing is a house of cards. Is that what Marchese was saying, Alex?
No, I think that we're going to see the cost come down for these models to run, right? That is a given.
Are
We
they
know the
though?
cost
Are they,
coming
or is
down.
that just wishful thinking?
They are. We have infrastructure that's being built, whether it's by NVIDIA, which has more powerful GPUs coming out,
For
or by startups like
30,000.
Grok. Yeah, they're expensive, but there are startups that are going to challenge them, like Grok, that is building purpose-built, and not Elon Musk's Grok, GROQ, which is they
just did a big raise.
builder.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down. The techniques are going to get better. There's going to be less loss in the model, so you'll be able to use more the data more productively. It's still going to be expensive. Like, it's not going to be cheaper than serving a Google search result. That's for sure. And I think we're going to see that Google is only going to fire these AI overviews, which they have at the top of pages, for a percentage of searches. It's not going to be for every search. In fact, it's not going to be for every search for Perplexity, and it's not going to be for every search for Bing or even Yahoo, right? Like, this is the thing that's going to happen is search engines are going to try to figure out which answer deserves a generative response, which answer deserves 10 blue links, and then serve you the right one so they can keep the margins up. But, right now we do know that there's been a ton of money that's been spent on generative AI and not a lot of revenue coming in. We have, I think, $50 billion that have been invested in NVIDIA H100 chips over the past year, and $3 billion that's been made from it. Now, OpenAI is on schedule to make $2 billion this year, and they're probably going to make billions more from Apple once their deal is announced at WWDC and things go well, as I anticipate it to happen. But we're at the very beginning of this. And there is going to be some, sort of froth in the system that's going to boil off. But ultimately, there is going to be economics here for folks. And I think what Marchese's point is broadly is that there's going to be a new system that's going to be built. And the chaos that's going to come is that we might end up there before we're ready for it. And Leo, I think you're spot on in saying that people don't like to pay. And therefore, we built a system. The internet built a system that would allow companies to make money based off of them not paying, which is advertising. And now we start to see what happens when we move beyond that. And here's what he said. I'll just quote it. He says, "If you're not paying, then you are the product in a lot of cases. And consumers were never paying for the internet. So the internet found a way to make money off them. You might be paying for generative AI, and that would allow it to deliver you the best recommendation, not to recommend who paid the most. That's good in theory, but we don't know if the models are taking sides, and black boxes are hard. And to me, that's the real problem that we might be running into, is that these Perplexity pages and OpenAI's ChatGPT and whatever you might be searching in, they're total black boxes. We don't know how they come to the recommendations that they're making. They don't even know.
That's what I was going to say. They don't even know.
And
yeah.
that is a problem.
It feels like we've replaced a system that could never work, the internet, with an even more chaotic system that requires an interlocking payment system with money out but no money in. It feels like it's not making it better. It's going to make it worse.
This feels very I feel like I'm going crazy.
Exactly.
Living through all of this. And honestly, my reaction to this is I'm just going to go for a walk. I don't how many times are you going to AI generate an answer to a question that I have before I'm just going to do something else with my time? I don't have I don't have infinite number of years left on this planet. I don't need to a customize AI generated, Perplexity plates to send to my friends. It's like, how about I like go to his house and like have a beer? Like,
well, that's good.
There's other things to do.
That's the instinct.
That's honestly, and I obviously I'm in publishing. I see all these discussions, and I'm like, this seems so small. It's like how many you can wax a car. And like at a certain point, it's like it's shiny enough. It's like I got the answer. I don't need it anymore, like delivered in a shiny different way. Like at a certain point, like I don't care anymore. It's
Alex,
like, it's just
you're very
exhausting.
You're very bullish. It sounds like you're very optimistic about all this, but it does feel like it's almost a Ponzi scheme where we're just going to keep shifting the responsibility for payment, and nothing ever really gets fixed. It's like Uber. It's just like it's going to, eventually, it feels like it's going to collapse in on itself. I was watching a documentary on the American experience about the Kerner Commission. In 1967, America was torn with riots. The ghettos were burning in city after city after city. It was a terrifying time. The president at the time, Lyndon Johnson, said, I'm going to form a commission. It's kind of all white men, but okay, we won't say anything. But I'm going to form a commission to get to the bottom of this. Why is this happening, and how do we keep it from happening? The commission came back with a very controversial report. Number one recommendation was a guaranteed universal income. This is 1967. This was realizing that the fundamental structural problem was you have very poor people collected in ghettos and prevented from ever getting out of the ghetto, and eventually they revolt. They say we're not going to take this anymore, and they burn the thing to the ground. And the Kerner Commission in 1967 said the only way out is to guarantee income. That didn't happen, by the way.
Right.
Can I just add one other wrinkle to this? So
Sure.
Universal-based income is one. Payment for content is another. Do we care at all is another one. A third one is, I think, the environmental resources for all of this.
Oh, it's a nightmare,
So
right?
It's very significant, the amount of energy that's going into this, and a lot of it is not renewable. So you don't really have solar panels like powering these servers that are doing all these complex computations. So basically, I just wrote an article about Microsoft. Their emissions are just going up and up and up every year. So 4 years ago, they set a zero emissions goal. They've only gotten further from it. And the big reasons for that are AI, training new models. I mean, these are just guzzling energy and resources. And it's a good question, like how many resources do we want to burn to have Google tell us to eat rocks?
As much as we can. I'm kidding.
You think?
Can I? No.
Do you think it's worth it?
No, of course not. I mean, that not to eat rocks. I just want to address these points. So let's talk about energy, first of all. This might be, I do agree that it's an energy problem. It's similar to the Bitcoin problem where like these Bitcoin mines were guzzling up energy and ultimately harming the planet. The one piece of hope that I have here, and maybe I'm too optimistic for my own good, is that this might push us closer to going to nuclear power. Right. And I think nuclear power is something that can help us contain our climate crisis. It's controversial, no doubt, but we've forsaken it and it's become unpopular politically.
Well, you know why we've forsaken it? 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl. Yes. I mean, there were good reasons to turn our back on nuclear. I know, I keep reading this and people say, oh, no, that nuclear power is safe and the waste problem is solved. That's not the history of nuclear power. Of course. In Ukraine right now, there's a massive nuclear power plant that the Russians are, at any moment, could create a meltdown. They control it, and they have acted very irresponsibly around it. I don't know. Are these plants safe?
I would say they're orders of magnitudes. They would be orders of magnitude safer now than they were back then.
It's better than burning dead dinosaurs. I will buy that.
Imagine you could run a nuclear plant today on effectively, on a computer system, right? We cover Moore's law all the time. On a computer system far more powerful than they were running on Chernobyl, which you would imagine would have the proper redundancies to stop a meltdown like that. I mean, if you used your iPhone, it would be powerful, way more powerful than the computer system running 3 Mile Island. So we should have the technology that's able to bring us to nuclear in a way that we didn't previously. I would say
solar has been quite successful. Like the amount of renewable energy from solar has really gone up. Right. There's tons of solar projects in the pipeline. Really what we need is better batteries to store that energy that comes from the sun to hold it for longer, hold more of it, and then we can use it. So that would be, I guess, my request. And in bringing this up, I just think it gets lost in the AI conversation. Like Sam Altman's like, oh, I need $1 trillion to find AGI. And it's like, well, we should just consider like on the back end what we're doing here. And I don't hear it discussed very much, at least in the US.
There has been some discussion. Like Mark Zuckerberg was on the Dwarkesh Patel podcast a couple weeks ago, talking about the energy needs here. And I think that, look, we know tech and it isn't perfect, but I do think that when Silicon Valley gets on a problem, it tackles it creatively and oftentimes with solutions that the rest of the world is not prioritizing. And so whether it's an investment in solar and whether it's an investment in nuclear, maybe, and safe nuclear, maybe this is how it happens. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but think about the status quo today in climate. It's not working. We need new solutions. And maybe this is one of among many solutions that we can use to help shake it up and send us in a different direction.
I just don't think big tech's going to do it. Like, I think that it's going to come from some regulation, ESG being part of, the stock market. I just don't see, I'm not seeing, at least in Microsoft's example, that they are solving it. It's only getting worse.
Well, government might solve it. The CHIPS Act, the
yeah.
Chips and Science Act has been, I think, very successful, or at least it looks to be very successful in investing in American chip foundries. All of a sudden, we're going to be competitive, where we've just basically been offshoring everything with billions of dollars pumped into the economy. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, CHIPS Act is great.
Yeah. So it is possible for government to pour money into a solution, maybe nuclear. That's who it'd have to be, right? It's not going to be Intel building nuclear power plants.
I just don't think it's going to be either or, right? Like, obviously, private sector isn't going to solve these problems, but we got to shake the status quo up. And whether that's government or whether that's private sector or some combination of both, there needs to be compelling events to get us off of what we're doing. And maybe it's the AI revolution, who knows? I mean, there's going to need to be a new approach to energy no matter what to power these models, but something has to do it. And I don't know, maybe the thing sitting in front of us is what it does. I don't know. Again, I had prefaced this by saying maybe I'm too optimistic, but that being said, we need something to change.
I see your point.
He's the last optimist, isn't he? He's the Alex.
Probably.
You're going to be the last optimist.
But I do see Nicholas's point about this, how shiny do we need it? And I think that we do have only Bing, which has offered generative search for more than a year, only has 3.6% of global search share. So it's not like everybody wants to go to this technology right away. That being said, this is the worst it's ever going to be. And we already see it being put into practice in enterprises, for instance, searching documents, querying company workflows, being able to be better at customer service. This stuff is happening today, and it's actually having an ROI. So maybe that extends to consumer over time. But, if you're a pessimist, there are definitely data points that you can point to with this generative AI moment and say, wait, what the hell is happening? Because it definitely is a moment of just unbelievable exuberance, and there's definitely some irrational exuberance there.
I can't help it. I go back and forth. Emily, you chose the best beat. You got EVs and AI. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. Are you an AI optimist?
I'm interested in where it's going to go. I hope it brings up good discussions. I do think it's going to keep going. I don't think it's like crypto. A lot of people are like, oh, why is this different than crypto? That was supposed to change everything, and it didn't. I do think it's more here to stay. I just feel like there's some obvious solutions that would grease the wheels and give us all less anxiety about this. And I just wish we could talk more about them. Like, just pay for the content, just mark what's AI generated on the web and what's not, so we don't feel like we're all getting made fools of because we're reading like garbage computer content. Just be transparent. Make sure that the energy used for it comes from a good place. Make sure it's ethical. Like, I just don't feel like people are rallying around those things. And I would feel more comfortable if we just had any solution from the past year that's like really working well. So I think it can be done. I'm optimistic. I don't think much has changed in a year on any of those issues. Does anybody?
And you have people like Sam Altman who really seem to be full speed ahead at all costs. Doesn't matter. throw more bills into the furnace.
Yeah.
And let's just, because we're getting to AGI one way or the other. Then there's companies like Anthropic who are very safety focused, who seem to be completely tied up and ham-bound by their focus on safety. And then you have a company like Google that's just basically like Krusty the Clown. I don't know what the hell. They're just going, does this work? I don't know.
I think Sundar Pichai's face is just in a permanent state of like just shock.
Like, what is happening? I don't, what?
Yeah. See, I'm open to it. Like, I hear you, Alex. Like, I'm optimistic too. I feel like time is passing and like we're still in the same spot, kind of, just with a new, Krusty the Clown of the month.
I don't know. Look, AI is like, again, has a mind of its own. So it's like relatively uncontrollable.
That's a terrifying thought.
And listen, so you're going to get the eat rocks thing for sure.
Right.
You're going to get it.
Well, you get that with humans too, by the way. If I ask the random human on the street, is a COVID, is a vaccine good? Is it a good thing to get a vaccine? Half of them are going to say, "Oh no, it'll kill you," and they're wrong. Yeah. They're just wrong. But that's the thing. Humans are the reason AI is full of poop is because humans are full of poop. We're just
I actually heard with the Turing test that the Turing test is like the computer sounding human. So I read what's his name, Ray Kurzweil's book that's coming out soon, and he talks a lot about how in order for AI to pass the Turing test, it's going to have to be wrong sometimes
because that's human.
So that's human. Yep. So it's going to have to not make sense. It's going to have flaws. It's going to have to get information inaccurate. So I don't know where that squares with this. We always want better, perfect information, but then we also want to achieve AGI.
This is what Emily Bender and Margaret Mitchell and Timnit Gebru wrote in Stochastic Parrots, which I think is really true, is because it's coming out of the mouth of a machine, of a computer, we give it more trust than we do out of a human. And the problem is that AI isn't more trustworthy than humans. And I think it's a fool's errand to make it more trustworthy. I don't think that that's the solution either. Let's pause because we need to take a break, but this is a great conversation. It is, I apologize, a little chaotic because Marchese was right. Chaos. That's what's happening in the world around us, but thank goodness we have smart people to help us. I like getting together and just trying to figure it all out. Emily Drybulbus is here. She writes about EVs and AI and more at PC Magazine. She is an electric human. Are you one of the electric humans? Is it a band?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it. You're going to have to help me brand it. We need to workshop it.
Electric_humans. No, I think that's good. I like it. We run on electricity.
I guess the human part, I'm interested in the human effect of technology, not just the technology itself. So I was going for that with the humans.
That makes sense. Also here, Nicholas De Leon from Consumer Reports. He has the unenviable job of explaining all this to normals.
Well, that I struggle with. I go back and forth with this AI stuff all the time because I try to find like the actual kind of everyday person utility for a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And it's just like I should have a story published this week coming from that angle. And it's like there's not. How many times can I use ChatGPT to like ask like a trivial question?
No, it's not
like
useful.
I understand GitHub Copilot. Obviously, there are clear like useful uses for these things. But if I'm just like a dad in Danbury, Connecticut, like. I don't know yet. It still feels like a little bit over the horizon of like.
Are dads in Danbury interested? If our readers are any indication, not super interested. That's going to be the name of my new yacht rock band, Dads in Danbury.
Are any dads from Danbury listening right now?
Yes, they are. Phone in. Let us know what you think.
Danbury.
On the line.
Let us know what you think about AI. We are dying to hear it.
Especially if your name is Dan. Dan, I'm a dad from Danbury.
Dan in Danbury. That is the wonderful Alex Kantrowitz. We always love having you on Big Technology Podcast. You talk to the biggest, most interesting people in the business, which means you often have some insight that I completely lack because I don't talk to anybody. So thank you. I'll talk to you. So you talk to them and let me know what they think.
Thank you, Leo. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have all three of you trying to solve this conundrum that is the world, the modern world. Our show today brought to you by InTouch CX. I'll tell you one thing. The customer experience is probably the most important part of your business if you deal with customers. And I bet you have customer service that is living in the 19th century in some way. InTouch CX knows that a major goal of your company is to provide your customers with an excellent customer experience. But it's changed in the 21st century. And there's technology now that can make you do so much better job. InTouch CX works with brands around the world to apply things like AI and smart automation to optimize their customer experience for every touch point across the entire customer journey. I'm not talking about, let's make a phone tree so the customers don't get to talk to somebody. No. We're talking about making a better customer experience. To provide a great customer experience, of course, you have to depend on a combination of talented people, but you also need efficient processes, and you need to use innovative technology. There's some new stuff out there that really can make a difference. Quality service only happens when you have the right mix of talented people, efficient processes, and innovative technology working together. Unfortunately, most companies are dealing with outdated, complex systems. You know who you are. You know what the pain points are. It makes it hard to meet customer needs. Hard to retain your customer service agents. They're frustrated. Your customers are frustrated. There is a better way. Customer interactions have to feel smooth on both sides for both your customers and your agents. That's why InTouch CX improves the experience for both the agent and your customers at every touch point of their journey. They do it through innovative AI and automation. There are so many tools. If you go to the website, take a look at it, intouchcx.com/twit. It's just a wide range of stuff. But in general, the idea is to do triage, to support the customer in the way that's going to be the most effective for them and for you. To elevate your customer and agent experience, adding AI and automation at every touch point. Look, you just got to talk to them. Talk to the people in InTouch CX. Whatever your company's size, regardless of where your company is on its CX journey, InTouch CX can help. They really are the industry leaders. Go to intouchcx.com/twit. You can talk to them, sign up for a free, no obligation consultation. They will create a tailored customer support strategy for AI and smart automation customized for your business. They really know how to make this work. InTouchCX.com/twit. InTouchCX.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. I'm just curious. All three of you are young. I had my kids, my daughter's 32, my son's 28. I had my kids in an earlier time. It didn't feel like it. It was the internet was around. It wasn't completely the dark ages, but it was a very different time. And I look at them and I wonder if they're ever going to have kids. I have a feeling that they feel like maybe it's not a good time. This is a very personal question, but Nicholas, you're going to have kids? Would you have kids in this world?
I wouldn't be opposed to having kids in this.
Would you not be nervous about bringing?
No. All the stuff that we discussed,
it's all gonna be fine.
Like where I live in, like basically the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and like the concerns that these people have is not this.
That's
stuff.
real life.
It's like bills. It's like not to be too flip, but like all this stuff is like way outside of their like wheelhouse of like.
It's funny because I live in a bubble, so. I work
in a bubble, so I kind of see both worlds.
That's good input.
They would have no.
How about you, Emily? I don't know what your personal situation is, but would you consider having children in this world, or are you? I guess the question I'm asking is, if you had a kid today, they would be my age at the turn of the century. Like 2100's going to be wild, right? I'm not sure I'd want to have a kid today. What about you, Emily?
This is definitely a topic I'm thinking about because I'm getting married in a month.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah,
God, what are you doing here? Don't you have something to do? Like get your trousseau together or something? Or
I know. I have a list of, we printed out a list of all the tasks and it's insane.
Are you planning the wedding or is it going to be a small affair? Or?
Yeah, it's like 100 people.
Oh,
jeez. Yeah, my fiance is helping a lot. My family's helping.
Good. How exciting.
Yeah, making room for me to be on this podcast for 3 hours on a Sunday.
Nice.
Like, I definitely feel like I have tons of support. So it's no problem at all.
Have you and your fiance talked about starting a family?
Yeah, we're going to try to do that.
Good.
So
your answer is yes.
My answer is yes. And I think there's a lot of negativity around kids, though. Like a lot of my TikTok feed is just like people who there's like the child-free movement. And there's a lot of people saying that, I'm child-free by choice. A lot of women who are talking about, not wanting to have children. And I do understand that, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was just very much assumed that you would have children,
right?
And that would be all you were doing. And for example, I wouldn't be on this podcast right now, and I can be and have a professional future because I can make a choice about having kids. So I get that, but I think it's a little overly negative.
You're with Nicholas. This is just people in the bubble are worried, not real people.
Yeah, I'm just going to live my life.
We are heading towards a population crunch, though, right? It is the case that, especially in the non-developing world, people are not having kids at the same rate as they did. China's a major crisis coming, and I think even the U.S. That's why Elon is having so many kids.
He talks about this a lot.
He wants to make up for the deficit.
He's halfway there.
Are you just baiting me?
I'm baiting you.
Elon with kids. Oh my goodness.
Baiting you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take the bait. So I just don't think he's building a world that makes sense. He's basically just having a bunch of kids and not being able to be a father to any of them.
Yeah.
And there is enough research to be like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So
he's also missing out on a real
the leader on
experience.
repopulation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
8.1 billion people in the world.
That's a nice number.
It's a lot of people. Do you want to add to that, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that I've been married for less than a year. It's been awesome so far. And we definitely would like to have little Cantrowitzes running around. But I think, both from a practical standpoint and from, at least from my perspective, a sustainability standpoint, don't really want to have more than two. I feel like replacing at this point makes sense.
Replacement, right. Zero population growth.
And if you want to have more and you have your own reasons for it, by all means, go for it. And if you don't want to have any and you have your own reasons for it, by all means, I'm not going to tell you what to do in terms of your family planning. But for me personally, I think two is the right number. Replace and, don't want to add necessarily, more consumers here. And I think we are living in the US, we are in one of these developing societies that we're having less and less kids. So I think that it does make sense to have a couple, and I'm excited to do it. Not immediately. And like Emily said, there's definitely going to be some professional choices that I'll have to make at that time. And ready to do it, ready to sacrifice and be there for the children. And I'm excited. But yeah,
I apologize
maybe not tomorrow.
to all three because it's a very personal question. But you see why I'm asking, because it's asking.
Yeah.
Really, the fundamental question is: are you optimistic about the future or not? Right.
I mean, I'm definitely optimistic, so I'm definitely happy to bring kids.
It will be a
world,
world that your children, if you had them today, would be, when they're your age, would be glad to be a part of.
We're imperfect. Yeah. We're an imperfect species. We've definitely made lots of mistakes. We continue to make them. We're making them right now. But we have improved the world for ourselves as we've gone on. Now, we will have a resource crunch. There's no doubt about it. But I do think we'll be able to get to a place where we innovate ourselves to, a point where we're going to be in okay shape because we have no choice. Right? We really just don't have a choice here, and we'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah. I often wonder, because I'm older, and I think one of the things that happens as people get older is they start to look with a golden glow at the past and say, the world today sucks. When my day, it was, it was good. And I want to know if it does seem like we are in a very bad pickle right now. Am I wrong? But I want to know, is that just because I'm old? And so it's actually encouraging to me that all three of you are optimistic about the future. I'm not so optimistic. I'll be honest with you. I feel
of course, it's different every day.
I feel like we're not headed down a good road, I guess is what I'm
I feel like, what is it? Life finds a way or something. It's like, we'll figure it out. We
will. We will.
Guy.
We always have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if history tells us anything, it's
or we won't. And such is life. It's God's will. I mean, I'm just a person.
Okay, save that recording for your children. In 20 years, we're going to play that for your kids.
Okay, that's fine.
They're going to say,
if you really want to get existential at things, just remember that one day the star will boil itself, send a supernova out, the universe will cease to exist, and eventually, our descendants or not, will evaporate. So,
well, but
that's where we're heading.
I
let's
know,
not give
but
up
that's
until
billions of
then.
years off. But
Yeah.
that, in a way, is what's driving people like Elon and this whole terrestrial movement is we want to be a interplanetary species,
Right.
so that we're not tied to this solar system 5 billion years from now. We
It's just
want
a little,
to spread.
Space travel seems great, but it also seems a little premature. Like I would definitely, I mean, if you want to do that, fine, but put equal or greater effort into making sure that this planet is habitable for the long time, because
Yes.
we are like many, many years away from the sun's collapse. We are not as many years away from our climate collapse.
We
So
may be
let's work
months
on that
away.
first.
It's going to
I
be
agree.
it's
I
going to
think
be
the
a rough summer.
biplanetary, yeah, it's kind of escapist, the biplanetary species thing, both mentally and physically. You're like escaping to another planet. But
Yeah.
I just think it would be such a huge loss if we lost like all of our beautiful nature on this planet. Like we just couldn't inhabit our own planet. It's hard for me to get excited about being
Good.
forced to inhabit another planet.
Good.
Do you think we shouldn't have kids? I guess I'll put it back on you. Like what?
Oh, I'm glad I had kids, but that was a long time ago. That was a generation ago. I don't know. You know what I'm. I guess in a way asking is should I have grandkids, right? Should my children have kids? And they sure don't seem inclined to at this point. Maybe I've poisoned their minds with fears of climate change and the collapse of our democracy, and the AI apocalypse just around the corner. My daughter loves AI though. She's just crazy about it. Many of her best friends are AIs. So I don't know what the answer is.
Love AI kids.
AI kids. It's funny. She was visiting. She lives in New York, but she was visiting last week, and I said, "Have you played with 4.0 lately?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, good. Let me introduce you." And so we had a 3-way conversation with the Chat GPT 4.0 because I talk to it all the time, and it was kind of an anodyne conversation. It was superficial, but at the same time, in some ways, it was better conversation than 3 humans would have had. The AI was very stimulating, was interesting. It took what we said and kind of chewed on it and gave us something different back. I thought it was quite good. So I don't know. She says, "See?" I said, "Okay, all right."
It is weird to think about bringing new humans into a world that's increasingly unsure how to value like the physical body of a human. It's like if we can just create computers that are humans, then
Right.
like why do we need these physical humans? And so it's
Right.
definitely a weird moment in terms of defining like what it means to be human, and is there value in being a human of the flesh?
One thing I was definitely aware of with my kids, I felt bad that they got out of college and grew up in a world where the jobs are harder and harder to get, and the expenses, they'll probably never own a home.
After we talk about climate, like the financial burden on young people today is crazy. First of all, look, every generation has dealt with their own hard stuff, but millennials and Gen Z, well, really millennials have gotten the worst of it. Come out of college pretty much in the middle of a financial crisis, no jobs to begin with there, live through COVID, have to basically sacrifice social to be able to make sure that we have limited deaths. I'm sure there've been other, financial crises that have gone along, over the course, there. But it seems like every time like this generation gets their feet underneath them, some other crisis hits, and it's just a disaster. And now you have the cost of childcare that's going through the roof. Housing. If you don't own a house now, good luck. Like you're in deep trouble. You're not going to be able to buy a house. And then just financially, it's very difficult to live.
I feel guilty. I feel like my generation has left your generation nothing.
All I have to say, Leo, is that please, whatever happens, the voters whoever's going to vote, do not vote to raise the retirement age. We'll do whatever we can to get to, 62, 65, 69. And then we're taking Social Security. All right, folks,
no,
like, that's
you
how
guys
it's
have to
gonna
work
happen.
longer to support my generation because we worked too, and we were tired at the ages.
I'll gladly do that, Leo. I will
Just
keep
remember
working.
what
Yeah.
happened in France,
I feel
right?
like retirement
Yeah.
age
Yeah.
is not a real thing in the US, but yeah, very much in France. It's like a real thing where you actually can stop working. And I mean, it's always creeps
have
me
a-
out when
they
I
have a safety
Uber
net.
drivers who are 80.
Yeah. They have a safety net. Go into any Walmart, see how old the greeters are. I mean,
Yeah, it's sad.
it's all right. I got my little vest ready. I'm gonna be. I'll be a cheerful little greeter. Ticketmaster. What a week for Ticketmaster, huh? We're going to talk about that when we come. Now that we have really cheered you all up, we'll talk about the troubles with Ticketmaster in just a little bit with Emily Dry-Belbis from PC Magazine, Consumer Reports, Nicholas De Leon, and the big technology, Alex Kantrowitz. Great to have all three of you on the show today. Our show today brought to you by Wix Studio. They're giving me 1 minute. I only have 60 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So, in a nutshell, here are a few things you can do from start to finish in a minute or less on Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device with responsive AI. You can expand Wix Studio's pre-made solutions with back-end and front-end APIs. You can generate code and troubleshoot bugs with a built-in AI code assistant. Switch up the styling of hundreds of web pages. I'm talking fonts, layouts, colors, all in a click. Add no-code animations and gradient backgrounds right in the editor. Start a design library. Package your code and UI in reusable full-stack apps. Oh, and one more big thing. Deliver everything your client needs in one smooth handover. Well, I'm run out of time, but the list keeps on going. If you haven't looked at Wix Studio lately, this is a power tool. A power tool for you and your agency. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Go to wix.com/studio. Or you can just click the link in the show notes to find out more. Wix.com/studio. We thank them so much for their support. I remember seeing an article by somebody who just bought tickets to the Eras Tour, the Taylor Swift tour in the United States, who realized that for what they paid for those tickets, they could have flown to Florence, watched the show, paid for the tickets, and flown back for less than it cost just for the tickets alone in the U.S. And there's one reason and one reason only for that. It's a little company called Ticketmaster. The U.S. DOJ is finally deciding to do something about what is, I think, the clearest example of a massive monopoly that is just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Any thoughts about, did you write about Ticketmaster, Nicholas, at all?
We didn't cover that last week, but it is, I mean, I feel like everyone has used you've encountered Ticketmaster, I'm going to assume. Nobody
you have to
likes
if you
it.
go to see a show.
It's
because they own all the venues.
Yeah.
So artists can't perform at the venues they want to perform at unless they sell tickets through Ticketmaster.
And it's not just music. I watch a lot of wrestling shows. So if you want to buy wrestling tickets, it's Ticketmaster. So you can't avoid this company if you want to go to like a live event. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know that too many people are going to be broken up about, well, maybe the breakup of Ticketmaster.
They own the venues. They own Live Nation, which is the, I guess you don't call it a label anymore, but effectively the label
Promoter.
for big art promoter. For like Madonna, she has a deal with Live Nation for albums, for concerts, for the whole thing. I'm sure she got.
She will show up at 12 p.m. at midnight when
we
she's
went to
ready
see her,
go on
but we
stage.
knew that she wouldn't show
What time
up.
she come on?
10:30, not so bad.
Yeah, not bad. You got lucky.
There's a guy suing in Los Angeles because not only did she come out at 10:30, but he says it was a porn show, which it wasn't. I've seen the show. It was a great show. If you go see Madonna, you shouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of sexy going on.
That's that guy's fault.
That's
But
his
the late
fault.
thing is
It's a BS.
kind of ridiculous.
Well, but at the same time, I've seen Madonna twice now, and she was an hour and a half late both times. You just know that's what's going to happen. Madonna always
There was some great.
technical
There was a
difficulties.
great YouTube video out of Boston where on like some local news report where Madonna came on at like 11, and there's a woman out of the theater like, Madonna, have no compassion?
I gotta sleep. What are you doing? I gotta pay a babysitter. So anyway,
Shout out to that lady.
yeah. Anyway, Ticketmaster. There's another thing they do. I didn't know about this, but Alex Lindsay was on Ask the Tech Guys earlier. He said, "Do you know that they also control the resale. So if you notice that all the seats are sold for your favorite artist within 30 seconds of them going on sale, that's because bots and scalpers immediately snap up all the tickets. And Ticketmaster's still going to get it coming and going. When they do the resale, they go through Ticketmaster, unless they're standing on the corner selling them. They go through Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster gets another cut. So they have no incentive to stop these bots. In any event,
I have a cautionary tale about that.
Yes.
So I went to Japan last summer. It's actually where I got engaged.
Aw.
And I was trying to fund this trip. And I made a hard ethical decision to try to buy Beyonce tickets and resell them.
Oh, that's a little money making scam. There you go.
The whole Taylor Swift hype was happening, and it's definitely questionable, like driving up prices, so making it less and less accessible for other people.
Oh yeah, real fans are stuck.
Yeah, but my parents were surprisingly supportive, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's fine if I try this.
Mom, Dad, I have a plan.
I know, like, is this okay? And my parents are really great people and also very like kind of ethically sound. And I was like, oh, you guys are open to it, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I bought tickets on Ticketmaster.
How
I had
many?
to join like, just 2.
Oh, okay. You didn't buy
I had to
30
sign.
tickets.
No, I had to sign up for a bunch of different cities.
Yeah.
So there's something called like the Beehive for Beyonce,
Right,
and I had to like join the Beehive in like every city across the U.S. And then that gave me early access to like maybe winning the lottery for any of these cities.
Nice.
So basically, I think I got tickets actually in Chicago where I was living. I won that lottery. I bought the tickets, and then I tried to resell them, but I didn't realize Ticketmaster just takes so many fees. First, when you buy the tickets, and then when you resell them, and I lost money on it.
Oh, man.
The fees.
But you know who
Yeah.
made money?
Ticketmaster.
Not
so
Beyonce.
I lost money.
Not Emily. Ticketmaster.
I know. I just was made a fool of. I compromised my morals.
You're not
I
alone.
tried to
You're not
get in
alone.
on the heist, and I got rocked. So don't. And she's #1 Grammy-winning artist of all time. Didn't work. So let be known. If you want to sell tickets on Ticketmaster, just be aware there are fees on every part of the transaction, and it can screw you.
And then they often don't tell you till you buy the so like you said tickets face price $150. Okay, good. And then they don't tell you that it's going to be $48 fees on top of that at the end.
It's ridiculous.
It's
Exactly.
awful.
You have to resell the ticket for so much higher than you bought it to overcome the hurdle of all those fees.
So they're pushing the prices up.
Well, the White House is going after these hidden fees.
That's
and
right.
I think it's one of the best things the Biden administration has done.
agree.
And it's their way. I was listening to Daily recently. It's their way of tackling inflation without basically, doing whatever they can because they have minimal control apparently.
And they're fighting the hidden fees and
whatever the reason.
They want Ticketmaster to tell you up front if there's a fee that people have to tell you up front.
I mean, think about that. The Airbnb cleaning fees. I mean, Airbnb, book a
big
room
boo.
for $80,
Isn't that
but the
ridiculous?
cleaning fee is $200. So by the
hotels
time
all
you're
day,
at checkout,
baby.
it's $300.
Yeah,
I only do hotels for that reason.
This is good government. Fight the hidden fees.
I agree. Well, and break up Ticketmaster. The U.S. Department of Justice, along with 30 state and district attorneys general, filed a civil antitrust suit against Live Nation Entertainment and Ticketmaster, its wholly owned subsidiary, for monopolization and other unlawful conduct that thwarts competition in markets across the live entertainment industry. Couldn't happen to a better company. The complaint was filed in the Southern District of New York. They want to break them up.
Nothing ever happens in that district.
Yeah. They want to break them up, which I think is probably the only solution. There's a historic precedent for this. Back in the 30s, the motion picture studios owned all the theaters in the United States. So as a result, they totally controlled both the means of production and the means of distribution, and they were split up. They were forced to break up because that was clearly a monopoly. And I think that's exactly the situation you have now. I suspect this will take a while, but I think it will also succeed. Live Nation
It would be a huge win for the people.
For the
if this
people.
wins.
For
I
the
feel like
people.
there's so many industries that are becoming monopolistic, and it's not good for competition. It's not good for the consumer. And I'm just like, how do we get ahead of this? Like, how is there a way we could have not created this situation with Ticketmaster earlier?
Well, that's a good point. And I think one of the things that did happen is for a long time, started under Reagan, there was a disinclination to pursue antitrust. And so companies were allowed to merge. They were allowed to get big very quickly, and nobody did anything about it.
Big tech, we're having the same conversation. I feel like it comes up often. Maybe it's a new wave of just discussing monopolies and just if that system of having competition is kind of weak right now.
But you can't really do it preemptively. And in the United States, having a monopoly is actually not illegal. It's maintaining that monopoly with anti-competitive tactics that's illegal. And the reason why it's not illegal is because you would then, create a disincentive for companies to get ahead of the field and outpace them, outpace the competition, and therefore innovation would dry up. And I think NVIDIA is a great example of, something that could be thought of as a legal monopoly at this point, where they built the GPUs, they built the software to train LLMs on. There are so many companies that are trying to catch up with them, but they have not been able to yet. They will eventually. And if NVIDIA were to do things that were anti-competitive to maintain that monopoly, then all of a sudden you would have a case against them. And similar, like you have this case against Ticketmaster, right? But until then, that's sort of where a lot of the economic value is. And we want to encourage companies to be exceptional and to be difficult to catch up with, but not impossible. So that's sort of how the system works.
So, as an example, you may remember for a long time, the government fought a merger of T-Mobile and Sprint because it was felt that it was better to have 4 big cell carriers rather than 3. Well, eventually they gave in. T-Mobile did acquire Sprint. And now it's about to acquire most of U.S. Cellular. This is what happens. They are accretion disks that slowly add to themselves until they get so big that we have to do something about it. The government is able to stall these. I mean, they tried to stop Microsoft Activision, failed. So it is possible to say, no, you're already too big, and we don't want you to enter a new market, or we don't want to expand your existing market or eliminate competition. It's got to be done appropriately. I agree with you, Alex. You need to incentivize people, but there's a lot of incentive. You don't have to add too much to that. There's a lot of incentive to get big, and there's also the argument, for instance, the Vision Pro probably couldn't have been made by 2 guys in a garage. It had to have a giant company behind it to invest billions of dollars over many years to create something like that. So there is balance. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Leo.
No, I was just going to say there is a reason to have these big companies, but I think also it's very easy to see when these companies are so big that they start to own their customers, their customer base, to the point where they don't have to serve the customer base.
Yeah, the balance thing is such a good point. For instance, think about acquisitions. We could all say the U.S. should not allow these acquisitions to happen, but that would disincentivize startups from building to get big enough so that they could use, so let's say, a big tech acquisition as an exit versus just having to go to IPO. There would be less funding without acquisitions. But you do have these roll-ups like the Ticketmaster Live Nation roll-up that's just, they become disgusting. And that's why this antitrust world is really lends itself to nuance versus political slogans. Yeah. Where it's ban acquisitions it's kind of tough. It will actually cause economic harm over time, but be more vigilant around acquisitions, and be more vigilant around, let's say, illegal maintenance of monopoly. This is good. And actually, I think looking at the bright side here, the United States is in a moment, and the world is in a moment where a lot of this anti-competitive conduct that was looked at or kind of ignored up until now is starting to really become examined and really be pushed back against. And we actually have a government that's moved beyond that Reagan era policy and is going to say, listen, if you're going to use your position of bigness and power to hurt the people, then we're going to take the side of the people here and try to push back. And that's the great news about what's happening with the Ticketmaster Live Nation thing.
Well, I think also what it means to be big today is very different than what it meant to be a big company in the past. With these technology companies, the reach and the valuations are so huge that a big company now, it's snowballed a little bit out of control.
Yeah. Although, the Sherman Antitrust Act came about more than 100 years ago because in the Gilded Age, these companies were getting so big and so powerful, like Standard Oil, that it became obvious they had to be broken up. I think we are in a new Gilded Age.
That's a good
possibly,
point.
yeah. To add to Ticketmaster's no good, very bad week, they were also then hacked.
And happened to a better guy.
Oh, good news. Well, yeah, but did it happen to them or to us? Its users, more than 500 million users. Information was leaked. Emails, phone numbers, addresses, even financial details. I immediately changed my Ticketmaster password so that, I want the right people to gouge me. And it's, crazy. 500 million customers.
No, this sucks. I mean, it doesn't seem like they were using those convenience fees to build their cybersecurity.
No, we don't want to invest in that.
It's the everyday users that end up getting hurt. And it's unfortunate.
Emily, you were saying something.
Why? Yeah, exactly. I just wonder why. So the way this happens is somebody hacks in the system, they get through all the controls, they get the information, and then they list that information for sale on these online forums. I think one's called Breach Forum.
Yep.
And someone basically goes and says, hey, I have this trove of information. Do you want it? I think they listed it for $500,000 for all of our Ticketmaster login.
1.3 terabytes worth.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like my information should be worth more than that, but maybe it's just me. That seems like a low price.
That's a good point. That's 10 cents each. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just wonder why that website Breach Forum even exists. Why is it legal to have websites online where you can sell hacked data?
That's a good question. I don't think you could go to https://
I don't know where it's
breachforum.com. I think it's the dark web.
It's on the dark web,
but obviously law enforcement knows about it.
Yeah.
I think it's in the news.
They leave it open.
Everyone knows about it.
They leave it open because that's how you find out who got hacked, right? If you closed
it's wild. I mean, it's like, hey, we're just aware of all this cyber crime happening in this web. We're just going to let this website just live and breathe and just transact. I don't get it.
Well, the funniest thing is the group that did this claimed responsibility. Hey, we did this. Shiny hunters, they're called. They're hunting shiny dollars.
Nicholas is right. It's shiny enough.
Shiny.
No more shiny.
No more shiny.
Sometimes I write about these stories and I'm like, okay, we know the person. We know they committed 5 other cyber attacks. Yeah. All of those happened on this forum. I'm like, I'm writing about it. Is somebody doing something about it? I don't get it. Maybe I just don't understand how it all works.
Well, one of the things that happened was, and I think this is very common, shiny hunters approached Ticketmaster first and said, it would be a shame if all of your information were to be leaked. And Ticketmasters apparently didn't want to give any of their filthy lucre to shiny hunters. So shiny hunters said, fine, you'll be sorry. And they're selling it online. But again, it's not Ticketmaster that suffers from this.
No, and I wanted to add, maybe 5 years ago, I was at the CR office, just writing whatever. Remember that Mint, the budget management app? Yeah. I got a notification saying something along the lines of your PayPal credit card offer has been declined. I was like, wait, what?
Wait a minute.
Never mind. Whatever. I worked through the day. I go home. I wake up in the middle of the night. I was like, wait a minute. I never checked the Equifax website to see if I was hacked. Oh. So it's 2 a.m. I log into the website and it says, I put in my social security number and it says, according to our records, you may have been impacted by the Equifax hack. That was, without question, the most stressful period of my life, having to I went to the NYPD, I went to the Yonkers Police Department, I had to get affidavits, I had to get all this information. And what did I get out of it? Basically, there was no real resolution.
You were the victim of identity fraud.
Yes. Oh, yeah. My credit report had addresses that I've never been to. I had an address in Newark. I'd never been to Newark. It had my address in Newark. I was this is insane.
So
and no one this was me doing this. I didn't have an assistant to go do that. I had to go to the NYPD in Queens.
It's a lot of work.
City.
Right?
I missed several days of work. I was obviously stressed out of my mind. And so I do sympathize with folks who now are going to have to deal with this.
Were you able to get it all cleaned up?
I was able to remove the fraudulent credit pulls or whatever it was. I was able to move. Basically, what solved it was the passage of time. Honestly, time just went by, and the credit report just kind of like you correct, but you correct, and you fight, and you send letter. It's like it was a real nightmare, to be honest with you. And like I was talking to the CR, like people in DC, like how do I like protect myself? What do I do?
Credit freeze.
So to the folks listening and watching is like freeze your credit. It is a minor inconvenience to not have your credit open, so you can't. I was going to get the T-Mobile 5G wireless internet the other day. They tried to run a credit check and it failed. So I was like, okay, whatever. But like, if I want to do that, I have to call Experian or one of the credit agencies to unfreeze it for like a day, then go and transact, and then they'll freeze it again. So it's like, but now that it's frozen, no one can get in. No one can get in. So that feels like that should be the default. It's like, why is it open anyway?
For a long time, these companies were charging you.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You could set a first of all, they don't want you to do a freeze because they make money by selling your information.
Yes,
if you
of
froze
course.
it, they can't sell your name to credit card companies to give you offers. So they didn't want to do this, but they were forced to. Then they thought, well, that's fine. We'll let you freeze it, but it's going to cost you $35 to unfreeze it.
Ridiculous.
Finally, a federal law was passed that says, no, you have to offer free freezing and unfreezing. But I have to tell you, offering it is a big difference between offering it and actually making it possible. I am logging in right now to my Experian account to set up a credit freeze, okay? Welcome back. Welcome back. So I logged in to the thing that says your credit freeze thing. Look what it says. Welcome back. Oh, get your free credit report now. I don't want a credit report.
I
don't want that. Where's the cancel box? There's no cancel box. I don't want this. I want to do a freeze, please. So maybe I misunderstood. Let's go back and see if I did the right thing. Manage your freeze. Go ahead. You can show the screen. Manage your freeze. Good. Okay. I'm going to sign in to my Experian account right here. Look, it even recognizes me. Oh, say hi, Leo. Welcome back. Just fill in your password here. Great. Now I'll be able to unfreeze my account, right? No, wait a minute. It says welcome back. Well, maybe if I click this, it'll do that. No, I still have to sign in. There is no way to get past this. So I said, all right, fine. I want my credit report. I don't.
Yeah.
So I submit it. Don't show this briefly. I'm going to just fill in it asks you for your social. So, okay, yeah. Going to fill that all in. Says, is all that correct? Yeah, that's correct. Submit a secure order. Let's see if it's still working. Hey, it worked this time. For 3 weeks, I've been trying to freeze my credit, and every time it says, sorry, it's not working.
And they'll try to sell you other products that sound like freeze.
It's
like
horrible.
A credit pause.
These companies
a credit pause
are
is like a fake product they sell.
There is no credit pause.
Credit freeze is like the
That's
one that has the law behind it. You need to freeze it, not like whatever else. I
ended up calling him. It was the only way to do it. And then you have to say, representative.
Yeah.
Representative. It's just a nightmare.
And I was sitting there feeling
it is unacceptable. It's illegal.
Yeah,
it's blatant.
I'm so sorry that happened to you, Nicholas.
Oh, it was really
awful.
And I just felt thankful that like I had a job that was like okay with me taking time off to like sort. What if I worked somewhere where they were not as understanding or whatever?
Were you a consumer?
I was like a CR, yeah. And my boss was like,
CR should allow you to do that.
Well, I mean,
that's
they did to be fair.
Feels like CR.
But like, what if I worked at another company?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it's a huge. I was like so like shaken by that. Like I can't believe this is allowed. Like this is insane.
It's a nightmare.
This is America. This is the America they tell me to.
That's a lot worse than losing money on Beyonce resale. So
that's pretty bad too, though. And what did your parents say when you told them that you in fact had lost money on this?
I think they were like disappointed.
Scam.
It was kind of like the horse that they bet on like didn't win the race.
We violated our moral principles to allow our daughter to make some money, and this is what we get. I tell you.
I mean, at one point I was like, I could buy you guys tickets. Like we can all do it together.
I know. My son does this all the time. He says, I'm going to get you the best nursing home ever. You just watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Well, actually, one more thing on the Ticketmaster that came to mind is I think that breach was not just Ticketmaster. It was a more upstream company called Snowflake.
Yes,
So
they blame Snowflake for the breach, but it was Ticketmaster data.
Yeah, so it's this problem where these companies rely on other companies for
Right.
parts of their software supply chain. And
Right.
so there are just multiple failure points that we're, as consumers, completely unaware of. I mean, every single software transaction they have has to have controls. And so these hackers basically just went through all these hoops, got to kind of like that motherlode company, that vendor that's providing some software service to tons of companies, Ticketmaster being one of them. So we'll see. Hopefully no other big companies also got hacked through this. But that scares me a little bit. It's like, not only do I have to know what Ticketmaster is doing to make sure I'm safe, but it's every single vendor that they work with also has access to my data. So it's really tricky.
You remember the Colonial Pipeline hack, where the Colonial Pipeline, which is a big oil supply pipeline for the Eastern Seaboard, had to shut down because ransomware folks got in their operations computers. How'd they get in? Through the HVAC contractor, the HVAC contractor, who was putting in the and Colonial had apparently allowed them access. I think that was the one that was HVAC, or was Colonial the one? Maybe Colonial was the one where they had a VPN and the employee left and they never changed the employee's password.
Of course.
I feel like the downfall of humanity is going to be for like the stupidest reason.
It's always stupid. I can't remember. It was one or the other. The HVAC was one. The employee VPN was another.
Right.
As long as we're talking, I guess we should mention that the Internet Archive has been under DDoS for days. What kind of evil son of a gun would attack the Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine? This started last week. And since the attacks began last Sunday, tens of thousands of fake information requests per second were launched against it, which basically shut it down. Brewster Kahle, who founded the Internet Archive, said if our patrons around the globe think this latest situation is upsetting, they should be very worried about what the publishing and recording industries have in mind.
Jeez.
I think they're trying to destroy this library entirely and hobble all libraries everywhere. We're resisting the DDoS attack. We appreciate all the support and pushing back. And if you're not yet a donor, I just use this as an excuse to tell people, donate to the Internet Archive, because it is a great thing that they are doing. Well, still, we got an ultrasonic coffee to talk about, free income tax, and how TikTok is being weaponized in the 2024 presidential election. All of that coming up with our great panel. Alex Kantrowitz, bigtechnology.com. So great to have you.
Great to be here.
And always love having you on. Same for you, Nicholas De Leon, representing the people. Representing the people. He's a senior electronics reporter at Consumer Reports. Right on, Daddy-O. And for the first time, but not the last, Emily Drybulbus, it's great to have you on from PC Magazine, where she covers AI and EVs. Do you only cover things with 2 letters? Could you go to 3? Would it be like, could you AI?
I only cover things that give you an identity crisis.
Fair enough.
All tech.
So
yeah, I do cover other things.
You said you liked e-bikes too, right? You were at that conference. They had e-bikes as well. I love e-bikes. I love them.
So fun. Yeah.
So much fun. Our show today brought to you by something very cool. We installed it ourselves just the other day. The Eufy Video Smart Lock E330. There's Micah Sargent. This is to show you how easy it is. This is our engineering room. We needed better security there. With just a Phillips head screwdriver, no drilling, no cutting, he was able to replace our existing deadbolt system with this Eufy video lock. With a 0.3 second, less than a third of a second fingerprint recognition, it unlocks within a second, and it gets smarter every time you use it. 10,000 milliamp hour rechargeable battery. There it is right there. He's going to put it in. You can pull it out to charge it. You get a low battery notification. And what I love is, there he is. He's scanning it to attach it to the lock. If the battery dies or whatever, you still have a key. You can slide the little doorbell button aside and unlock with a key, which is great. Here's the fingerprint unlocking. Look how fast that is. Turns a deadbolt. You can control your front door remotely. Look at that, with a key. I love that. Through the Eufy Video Lock app. That includes passcode unlocking, remote control. It's got a 2K clear sight camera, 2-way audio so you can talk to people. So there's Burke. He wants to get in. Micah says yes. He's ringing the doorbell. He says, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi, Burke. Go ahead. Go on in. It'll work at night, too. It's got enhanced night vision. It's got all the features you want, but I forgot to mention the best feature of all. No monthly fees, no subscription. All your Eufy video lock recordings are stored locally. You never have to pay for storage. You never have a subscription. They've got a worry-free 18-month warranty, and they're all backed by Eufy's 24/7 professional customer service team. If you don't know the name Eufy, you know their parent company is Anchor, which we've always loved Anchor stuff. Eufy is their kind of home automation label. It is a really nice lock. And very affordable with no monthly fees. That really makes the difference. Get yours today. Search for Eufy Video Lock on Amazon, EUFY, Eufy Video Lock, or you can just go to the website, eufy.com, EUFY. The Eufy Video Lock, the Smart Lock E330, 3-in-1, triple security, super duper lock. And go ahead, just try to get into our engineering department. Just try. Ring the doorbell, see if Mike answers. That would be kind of fun. So, moving along here. What did I say I was going to talk about? Ultrasonic coffee. I don't know why I brought this in because I figure you guys look like you drink a lot of coffee. Also, because I like the headline. It's like drinking a music festival.
This is exactly like the Spotify thing that you insert into
You don't
your
need
car.
it. You don't need it.
Why?
Australian
We
scientists.
have so many great ways to make coffee. Sorry, Leo. I'll turn to you, but
I have. In fact,
Alex is just immediately like,
He's
this
right.
is
No, he's right.
disgrace.
I have at least 7 ways to make coffee in my house. Because everything that comes out, I buy another one. I have espresso. I was recently cleaning out cupboards, and I found that I have like 5 AeroPresses. I don't know why. I just keep buying them.
Wow.
They're cheap.
5.
You never use more than one at a time, but for some reason, I have all these AeroPresses. And then I have drip, I have a Bodum, I have the Melita thing that you put on the stove. For a while, I had a cold coffee making system with tubes and pipes and all of that stuff. But somebody said it looked like I had a meth lab in my apartment, so I had to get rid of it. I didn't want to come under undue suspicion, so I did get rid of that.
or a blue bottle.
Yeah, blue bottles. That's all you need.
you ever tried mushroom coffee?
I have, and I regretted it. Do you like mushroom?
really?
Is that what you do? Do you drink that?
Oh, no, definitely not on a regular basis. But I tried it and I didn't regret it. So
I think we had somebody want to be an advertiser that kept sending me mushroom coffee. And I eventually snuck it. You know, Father Robert Ballasir, John, our digital Jesuit, one of our contributors. He's at the Vatican. He was going home to the Vatican. I snuck it into his suitcase.
I think you're going to hell.
I think I'm going to hell. He was not happy. He
The hell of all mushrooms. A hell where everywhere you look, it's
supposed
just a
to be
field
good
of
for you.
mushrooms.
But I like coffee in my coffee. That's all I can say. You can
What
add
makes
this.
people
Go ahead.
look like they are coffee drinkers, Leo?
These
Taking a look
Australian-
at our faces, and
these
you're like,
guys-
you guys are rocked.
They're drinking a lot of coffee. They're Australian scientists, chemical engineers. They took a Australian espresso machine, ironically the same one we have here in the studio, and modified it with a transducer to send sound waves into the ground coffee. It vibrates. Okay, this is the explanation from The Guardian. In the regular coffee making process, water extracts flavor from the outside of the coffee grounds. It can't get inside, just the outside, right? The hotter the water, the faster this happens. If you leave the coffee in for long enough, you might extract some of the flavors from the middle of the coffee grounds, but by that time, you're going to do something baristas call over-extraction, and you get too many of the unfavorable, bitter, acidic flavors, and that ruins the coffee. So it's a fine balance. The ultrasonic method, I don't know why I'm doing this story, sends lots of tiny bubbles into the water. When they implode, they make a mini shock wave that can pierce the inside of the coffee grounds in a phenomenon called acoustic cavitation.
Now I want to try it.
Now how much would you pay?
Nothing.
The liquid is much darker than the caramel crema of an espresso. According to The Guardian, it's extraordinarily powerful, aromatic, acidic, rich, and viscous. But unlike an espresso, it's never bitter or harsh. All right, no word about when you'll be able to buy this.
CR reviews coffee maker, so maybe.
I think you need to review it.
Yeah, if it's released commercially, I tell the coffee guys.
Yeah. They've now got it all fit into a espresso machine. They're trying to commercialize it. Maybe someday, coming soon. Have you ever been Starbucks for a while had this like weird thing where they would put the grounds. They had this machine.
Oh yeah, that thing was pretty good.
Was it
like
good?
a leaf or something? Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Do they still do that? I
think they still have that in their select locations.
Select locations. Okay.
For this one, I just keep imagining it. Can I put like some coffee beans in a nightclub and it's just going to like vibrate?
Yes.
Same effect.
It turns out that's how they got the idea. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The new thing, you've heard of debunking misinformation. Washington Post says the new thing is prebunking. It turns out it's being used effectively around the world. Election officials are adopting pre-bunking campaigns to kind of warn people, you're going to see this. Just be aware it's not real. In the run-up to next month's EU election, for example, Google and partner organizations are blanketing millions of voters, according to the Washington Post, with colorful cartoon ads on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram that teach common tactics used to propagate lies and rumors. One 50-second animation features a fake news campaign in which visiting tourists are blamed for a litter crisis. What was that on the airplane? International trash?
International trash.
We all know that that's true.
Emily was delayed on the ground for 5 hours, right? Yesterday.
Yep.
Tell the story.
So I was delayed on United for 5 hours. We were on the terminal during that time, but there were multiple issues with the plane for 4 of those hours. And the 5th hour was because once the plane arrived at the gate, they found a bunch of trash on it and kept referring to it as international trash because the plane came from Japan. And so apparently there are rules on types of like flight attendants or cleanup crews that can touch international trash.
What?
So we all had to hear international trash coming through the airport speakers for that hour.
I'm sorry.
And
it
was just absurdity, and people were just losing their minds. And then they were like, "Oh, the beverage carts aren't stocked either." We were like, "We don't need beverages. Just get on the plane."
But do get rid of the international trash.
Please do.
Well, that's what we're doing with pre-bunking. We're getting rid of the international trash. That was actually literally an example from Google about a fake news campaign where visiting tourists are blamed for a litter crisis. The idea is to educate voters about scapegoating, a disinformation technique that places unwarranted blame for a problem on a single person or group, like international travelers.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch that video? I clicked it and I was a little confused by it. The way the article describes it. No, it just was a very educational, appropriate video that I thought maybe could be shown in school or something.
Let's watch together.
I love that they're modeling this after the campaign for vaccines. That pre-bunking.
But that made it sound so strategic, and this to me is just an educational video.
This title of this video, which is unlisted, but somehow the Washington Post found it. Scapegoating, spot it, stop it. Let's watch together.
At risk of manipulation online right now. One tactic used to manipulate opinion is scapegoating.
Wait a minute. This is going to be shown to the EU, right? So why is the woman
9 seconds in?
Why is the woman speaking English with a Euro trash accent? Is that to make them feel more comfortable? I don't understand.
International trash is a very hard to understand concept. It's going to take more than 9 seconds.
So many jokes about international trash.
Responsible for the litter crisis destroying our park. Here are the signs to watch out for. An individual or group is blamed for a complex issue. They're held solely responsible for the whole problem, and other possible causes are not explored. Today, it's easier than ever to share misinformation online without knowing. But spotting the signs can help us stop its spread. Scapegoating. Spot it. Stop it.
This has got to be a parody. This comes from Google, Jigsaw, Moonshot. The Jigsaw was one of their moonshot companies, one of their ex companies. What was Jigsaw? Oh yeah, that was to stop international scapegoating, I believe. In conjunction with the BBC, Libraries Without Borders, and Debating Europe. That's just weird. All right. Well, maybe pre-bunking.
It's weird pre-bunking. I don't know. I do think I wish people were more educated sometimes on the tactics that happen online and how what we see, our opinions kind of being manipulated. So I kind of like that they're teaching people a little more how the internet works. And I think that's really important because the way algorithms feed information to people, it's like so confidently presented, but who knows how that content got there. And all of our opinions are like hardly even our own things that we see online because who knows where it comes from. And I feel like this type of campaign is trying to let people know about some of those tactics. And I think that's good. I just think it's a straightforward educational video. I don't really know about the new term pre-bunking, but
would such a thing work in the U.S.? Should we be doing this right now? We're headed into an election where there will be misinformation and disinformation.
Well, I live in a swing state for the first time in my life.
Oh, you're seeing a lot.
So I'm seeing ads on YouTube. It's all super PACs or whatever. It's like it's not the campaign itself. It's like, well, this candidate's really good. This candidate's real, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I want to get off this planet. Like it's it's so condescending. Like all of this, like the idea that these pre-bunking experts, like if it weren't for them, oh my goodness, democracy itself would collapse.
I don't know
like,
if
get
this
a grip.
is the intent, but I think the result of a lot of this is to alienate people so much they just don't participate. They just don't vote.
Or like making people cynical in the opposite way. It's like, how dare you like tell me like how to think? It's like
it solidifies your position.
Yeah.
Or annoys you so much you go, screw them, I'm not going to vote.
Or just whatever, like I'm going to go grill. Like I don't have time.
I'm going to go grill.
Yeah.
Which is always the right answer to anything.
I mean, I'm increasingly landing on
more barbecue. Less
I'm
politics.
getting increasingly frustrated with the people who are going to grill and also just talking about conspiracy theories the whole time. Like, well, I don't know what that is, but I saw on Twitter this and that.
I've been to that barbecue.
It's like people don't put that effort in and they just kind of take
have
what's
been to
given
that
to them,
barbecue.
and it's rampant. I mean, I don't see an end in sight.
It feels like everybody you talk to, well, maybe it's just me. I feel like I am paying attention, but no one else is. And they have all sorts of crazy notions. Like that could easily be pre-bunked or debunked, but that's
very key line in that article is that Google is not trying this in the United States. Google has no plans to launch such a campaign in the United States. So what do they really think about this whole pre-bunking thing if they won't try it here?
It only works with international
think about
trash.
us?
Or it doesn't work.
I'm with Nicholas. I'm out there grilling.
It doesn't work with domestic trash.
Thank you.
Well, get ready because the Trump campaign has now joined TikTok.
Jesus.
What's really interesting to me about this is you may remember, I think nobody remembers 4 years ago, but you may remember that President Trump was going to ban TikTok. That was very much like a full court press. We're going to get rid of TikTok. They scared TikTok so much they initiated the Texas plan, which was basically take American TikTok account information and store it in an Oracle database in Texas. So everybody should feel better about that. TikTok, by the way, says before the federal government banned them, because they are, by the way, the clock is ticking. They have until the day before inauguration. Weirdly enough, TikTok will be either sold or out of business January 19th, 2025, one day before inauguration.
Or an appeal.
And then, but then the president can give 3 more months if he feels like, whoever the president is at the time, if he feels like, well, they're working hard to do this, they're going to have a buyer in 3 months. Yes, of course, and they went to court to try to stop it. I don't know if that'll work or not. Meanwhile,
I think it kicked off enough litigation that they already delayed it.
They think, but just by litigating it, they delayed it.
Yeah, just by putting their thing on the table, being like, we're fighting this.
Yeah.
Now they have to process that. Yeah.
Well, so look, I should always disclaim up front that my son is a TikTok star. His entire career is based on the 2.5 million people who follow him on TikTok as a chef. He's been smart. He took it to Instagram. He has 1.5 million there. All of this. So I personally see very clearly the value of TikTok for young American entrepreneurs. There's an interesting story about a book, a self-published book, the Shadow Work Journal, This is from the New York Times, that became a bestseller because of TikTok. And even the author, it wasn't because of the author, it was because somebody else on TikTok started to push it. He made a video that got 58 million views. So much so he began teaching classes, talked about the journal so much. People thought he wrote it. He said, no, I didn't write it. I just like it. He's turned it into a huge bestseller. The author is a 25-year-old from Texas with a background in marketing. She self-published in 2021. She's now the self-help queen of TikTok. Sold more than 1 million copies, more than 700,000 of them through the TikTok shop, which means that the influencers, like the guy who first brought this to people's attention, got a commission. TikTok got a commission. But believe me, the author is not unhappy. She's sold 1 million copies. This is a self-published book that TikTok put on the map, showing the power of TikTok. And so I'm very much pro TikTok, against the ban, except I'm now really worried because Biden has a TikTok account. Trump has a TikTok account. And here's the interesting thing. Biden signed the bill to put TikTok out of business. So TikTok approached the Trump campaign and said, 2-1, there were more pro-Trump TikTok accounts than pro-Biden TikTok accounts by 2-1. So they said, you ought to have a TikTok account. So they made one. Now I'm worried that it's not the Chinese influence. The TikTok, acting in their own self-interest, is now creating a propaganda platform for Trump.
Well, I feel like Trump is so I read about EVs, as we've talked about, and Trump rails against them.
He now doesn't want any EVs in the U.S.
Yeah, he says, EVs are just making China rich, and I'm not sure why TikTok is any different. I find him selective in his policies.
Yeah, he's turned around because Jeff Yass, one of the big Republican donors, owns 15% of ByteDance. And now Yass has not given any money to Trump. But Yass has a lot of money to give to Trump. And I think Trump is courting Yass by saying, no, TikTok's great. TikTok's courting Trump. In November, according to TikTok officials, since November, there have been twice as much pro-Trump content as pro-Biden content on the platform. According to internal, this is all from puck.news. According to internal TikTok analysis, videos tagged Trump 2024 have generated 427 million likes and 6.5 billion views, compared to a tenth of that for Biden 2024.
Well, they went to
the Trump campaign and said, look, and all of a sudden Trump loves TikTok and the campaign's on TikTok. I'm not worried about the Chinese influence. I'm worried about ByteDance influence. It's wild. Here's the thing. They've convinced me. TikTok is a massive propaganda platform, isn't it? Really. It can be.
Isn't all social media?
Yeah.
I mean, that is how social media is used. And Trump is like their only ally, because Biden signed a bill requiring them to divest. So they have to go to Trump.
Right.
And now, just despite the fact that Biden has his own account there and their campaign isn't shutting it down, which is hilarious.
Isn't that hysterical? Well, and
but
furthermore,
also, this idea, Trump is like the natural, he's on Twitter everywhere. He's a much more memeable person than Biden is. I mean, there's no doubt about it, no matter how you feel about the candidates. He's just content with Trump, he'll say whatever. He's sort of a meant for TikTok.
Yeah.
Candidate, whereas you saw Biden's first TikTok, it was lame.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, social media thrives on controversy. So if your video has more comments, for example, the algorithm knows that it's a debatable subject and promotes it. So that's TikTok and Trump are the perfect match for that reason. The more inflammatory the content, the better for the platform, the more engagement, and you just keep feeding it. Then you get people grilling outside saying crazy stuff because the TikTok algorithm is just feeding them, as most inflammatory as possible.
So really, there is a lot of power in TikTok.
Absolutely.
But I mean, banning it's not going to change that because it'll just be Instagram or something else. But YouTube, a TikTok account called Under the Desk News, a news influencer with more than 3.3 million TikTok followers. They've been invited to the White House 5 times for briefings on policy, including one on the State of the Union, because they understand the power of TikTok. The creator of Under the Desk News, V. Spahar, told Puck News the reason behind Biden's team is failing to keep up with conservative creators on TikTok is because they don't understand how to connect with Gen Z voters. They said where the campaign falls short is that they think TikTok is like Instagram and that Dark Brandon will win him the election. We've moved from the memification of the news. That's very millennial. By the way, in this context, millennial are old.
It's boomers and zoomers.
It's
Those are the only
boomers and
two
zoomers. Gen
types
Z
of people.
moves through new memes the way millennials did. So in other words, a meme, it lasts 3 seconds, big deal. Dark Brandon, it's over. It's yesterday's news. I don't think you should ban TikTok because of this, but I think it is very clear that there is a battle now for the minds of the young people in America, and TikTok is the battlefield.
To me, what's so silly about who could possibly be undecided? Let's just have the election today. I want to hear what this guy has to say. What's his It doesn't matter.
My poor
Let's just
wife,
do it now.
CNN has a roundtable of undecided voters.
Oh, I don't believe it.
I'm screaming at them. I said, who is undecided? That's the last person you want to talk to at this point. I don't know.
Really
they both
silly.
seem good. They're fine. I don't know. I don't know who to vote for. Maybe
Especially because we've already had a full term for both presidents.
Yes.
I mean, how much information do you need?
Yeah. I'm going to vote for RFK. He's the unknown. He's the unknown in here. He's the wild card. I like wild
He's
cards.
got a worm in his brain.
I like worms. What's wrong with worms?
Worms are cute.
Worms are cute.
Worms are not cute, and they're especially not cute in the brain.
Your brain. Well, the worm's still there. It's dead, but it's still there. But it's had its fill. It's eaten enough of his brain that it was happy. It lived a good life.
Look at all the good things it's done.
Well, actually, have you seen that thing on TikTok where it's like girlfriends secretly film, they're on the couch with their boyfriend and they secretly film him. They go, "Would you love me if I was a worm?" And he has to answer yes, basically. That's a whole TikTok thing.
I've somehow missed
This
that.
is why we should
not
ban
familiar with
TikTok. Enough of these.
Somehow.
If someone films me asking me if I'd love them if they were a worm and I answer no, and that's bad.
What? I don't get it. Why is that bad?
Because you're supposed to it's stupid, obviously, but you're supposed to love them unconditionally. But
I'm going to I'm going to TikTok right now to see would you love me if I'm a worm meme accounts.
The couples that Emily sees on TikTok are people who swear off kids and their partner must love them if they're a worm.
It's hard out here.
Don't take relationship advice from TikTok.
Emily, what's your favorite? So, is it fair to say you have a favorite social media, or is it all bad, or is it all good, or what's your favorite?
Well, I'm actually pro TikTok ban just because I think it would be interesting and keep it interesting. So I'm fine with that. I mean, I mostly use TikTok and Twitter and Reddit.
Here is from TikTok. The only correct way to answer: would you still love me if I'm a worm?
Yeah. Would you still love me if I was a worm? Well, what do you mean? You already are. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Okay. See, I'm glad I watched that, and I understand.
Well, yeah, a lot of the things happening on TikTok are really stupid.
It's entertaining, though. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, why is it so different than early internet? But
No.
I mean, I think that one's.
It's no worse than peanut butter jelly time.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Right, and I think
Badger
the
mushroom.
self-help
Mushroom.
mushrooms,
Badger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a classic. That is a classic. We watch that frequently here.
Are you too young,
Salad
Emily,
fingers.
for Badger?
I don't know.
Do you know what that is?
Badger?
Oh, are we going to get a play of Badger Mushroom here on Twit? That would really make my weekend.
I think this is for Emily, just so she knows what us old folks are
Ancient
talking
memes.
about.
This is what the internet used to be.
That's good stuff.
This is much better.
Look at Emily's doing the Badger dance.
Oh my God, here it comes, the snake.
Everyone do it.
Endless entertainment.
The internet used to be good.
I don't think you've made the case.
No, I haven't.
Let's take a break. More to come. You're watching This Week in Tech. It's the weirdest show ever, I think, officially now. Our show today brought to you by Mint Mobile. Now, this I can get behind. Mint Mobile is awesome. I am a Mint Mobile fan. We just did our spring cleaning at the house. My wife calls it Swedish death cleaning. Apparently, that's a thing. In Sweden, instead of having your heirs clean up after you, you clean before you die, right? Swedish death cleaning. And I have to say, one of the great things, after you get rid of all that stuff, you go, wow, how have I been living like this? Well, you're going to have the same epiphany when you get Mint Mobile. If you look at your wireless bill right now, and you look at your new wireless bill where you get the Mint Mobile plan for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, you're going to say, wow, how have I been affording this? Just do me a favor right now, get your cell bill, or go online. I guess people don't get bills anymore, but look at how much you're paying for every month when you could get unlimited talk, text, and data from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. That's it, all in. And all plans come with high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G network, unlimited nationwide talk and text. You can use your own phone. They will send you a SIM or use eSIM at no charge, and you immediately become a Mint Mobile customer. Bring your phone number. They port it over for you if you want. If you stick with your phone, all your existing contacts come along. But they also sell new phones, too. I bought a beautiful iPhone SE for $15 a month. It was a great deal. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's limited time deal. You get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. And by the way, after the 3 months, it's still the best deal in wireless. It will still save you. It's a fraction of what you're paying right now. For me, I went from $90 a month with T-Mobile to, I think I paid $25. I bought a whole year's worth, so I think it was $25 a month for $300. Is that a year? I can't. Yeah, that's right. $300, $25 a month. I got 6 gigabytes of data. I got the unlimited nationwide talk and text. That's literally less than a third what I was paying T-Mobile. And by the way, Mint Mobile runs on the T-Mobile network, so I was getting exactly the same service for a third of the cost. Now, this is a great new customer offer. To get your new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan, unlimited, for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/twit. mintmobile.com/twit. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. mintmobile.com/twit. You pay it up front, $45 upfront payment required. That's $15 a month for 3 months. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on an unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. That's one thing. Inflation has hit Mint Mobile, but not inflation in the cost, just in the amount of data you get for the same price. It's amazing. mintmobile.com/twit. Anything else? You're crazy. You're just overpaying. mintmobile.com/twit. Badger. I can't believe you got me to play that.
I love that we played that. That's my favorite twit moment I've been a part of since we've been doing this, Leo. That was amazing. And we're still doing the dance.
I feel like that movement's nice. We've been sitting a while.
It's very therapeutic.
So I think we do this in Tai Chi. It's called grasping the bird's tail or something, I think.
Oh, are you like out in the backyard?
I do.
Tai Chi?
I do Tai Chi. And you do it really slowly. Oh. I love Tai Chi because I'm an old man. I'm an old Chinese man. I stand in the park and I do Tai Chi. It's great. I'm wonderful.
I'm going to do Tai Chi when I'm older.
You should. It's wonderful.
Maybe I'll do it now.
Do it now. You already have the
badger.
You got the moves. The best thing about Tai Chi is every move has a crazy Chinese name, like grasping the swallow's tail, playing the lute. They all have. I love it. It's very romantic. It's fun. Twitch is also becoming a big political platform. Twitch streamers just raised a huge amount of money in a fundraiser, a pro-Palestine fundraiser. They did a 24-hour stream. The content creators, as the Washington Post, range from A-list YouTube stars to Gen Z TikTokers to first-generation internet personalities. held a Top Chef-style competition, played charades, did improv with costumes, auctioned off goods. By the end of the day, 24 hours, they raised $1.5 million for Palestinians. That's the power of these platforms. Meanwhile, Twitter and Instagram and Threads are restricting any political or social content. YouTube has downranked political content, steer people away from extremist figures. So TikTok has picked up the slack. Twitch has picked up the slack. Don't know what to say about it.
I'm not on Twitch, but it seems incredibly powerful platform, and it's like a whole world that I'm not watching, the video game streams, but it actually sounds like there's a lot more than that.
There's a lot more. On. There is. I think we're, in a way, as powerful as social media is, I feel we're a little bit insulated from how bad it could be because it's not uniform. There's so many different, it's not like if they all got together and all said the same thing, that would be worrisome. But it isn't like that. There's every kind of point of view. In a way, I think that insulates us from the worst effects of it. Yes?
Or it just makes it like you never know what someone thinks, because if someone's in a different internet rabbit hole than you, it's like you're two different people.
Yeah.
But it tends to amplify news, especially politics, based off of emotion and not thoughtfulness, and just the way that virality.
You think the 24-hour news channels don't?
No, of course they do as well.
Yeah. I think all the discourse in the United States
sort of based off of what people want, right? People want this stuff, but it is interesting. It's sort of we do not have a thoughtful approach to news or politics in our world right now. I don't think social media makes it better. I think social media makes it worse. And yes, everybody is involved in this for sure.
It's really scary that some politicians are getting so involved with social media, because social media is clearly kind of influencing our elections. And you're totally right. It is kind of thoughtless often. It's whatever's, like I said, the most inflammatory or just instantly entertaining is what people will watch. And I've actually started seeing some TikTok videos where people are kind of coming clean, I did this for a year because I saw it on TikTok and this was really trending and I really thought this was the right information and I was totally wrong and now I'm having to backtrack. And everyone in the comments is like, thank you so much for raising this issue. We're getting way too influenced by this platform and it's not the right information. So it's a very sticky situation. And with the election, I feel like it's highlighting that our world's kind of running on it right now.
Is that should we worry about that?
Yes, we should.
Because
it's so algorithm driven. So, the quality of the content doesn't depend on how many views you get. So people are watching a bunch of stupid stuff like worms and badgers and they're voting off of it. Don't you think that's concerning?
Yeah, but, Badger worm 2024.
This is the same thing that people were saying when I was a kid about TV, right? You shouldn't get your news from TV. It's just dumb.
Maybe that was right.
Newton Minow, the chairman of the FCC, called it a vast wasteland in testimony before Congress. But in hindsight, it was a lot better than today. At least then, the news organizations felt obligated to have newscasts. Now news is really just another ratings driver. They used to lose money in the news division. Now it's all about how can we drive ratings with the news division.
I think with social media, it's a lot of people who don't read the article themselves. They don't look at any primary sources.
They share the headline.
They just see how this and that person retweeted it with a quote, how everyone else is packaging things, and they think that's the news.
I don't know. I read the article about this Twitch fundraiser, and I'm glad they raised the money for the people in Gaza. That's needed. And but it was interesting to hear the creators talk about it. So there was one creator, and this is what the article. He said the situation in Gaza marked a turning point in the content creator world, where creators who previously never spoke up about politics and stayed within their niche were becoming more comfortable being outwardly political and voicing their opinion. And it just strikes me that, in August 2023, the United Nations put out this report about the war in Yemen, which is a multi-sided war. And we didn't hear anything about that really from influencers on social media. And this is creators talking about it himself. And in that war, there's, hundreds of thousands of deaths. And a child under 5, this is according to a UN report in 2023, a child under 5 died every 12 minutes. So the algorithm is interesting, right? It does sort of focus in ways that are hard to explain sometimes. Why this one and not that one?
I think the U.S.'s connection to this one has really raised
a lot of United States weapons were dropped and killed many, many people within Yemen.
So you think it was the same thing? Or do you think it's a deeper connection with this one than that one?
Look, I think it's U.S. weapons. I mean, I don't have the count of how many U.S. weapons killed how many people in each conflict, but the U.S. was definitely involved in both.
It's interesting. You're saying that for some reason that what's happening in Palestine grabbed people's attention, where what happened, the same thing happened in Yemen did not. Do you have a theory as to why?
I wouldn't say the same.
Similar.
I think that we have. I don't have a theory as to why. I mean, I have some guesses, but I just think that we have these moments that our media. I mean, I wouldn't call it a media creation, but there's a moment where the algorithm can latch onto a thing, and then it snowballs and becomes much bigger. And so we've kind of lost a sense of scale, I think, in the way that in the way that we consume news.
In our Discord, one of our club members, James Carr, says actually the Twit creators were talking about Yemen as well as Palestine. But of course, they weren't talking about it when it happened, but they are talking about it now retrospectively.
I mean, in the Washington
I think that's
Post
what happens
itself,
in the world is that sometimes some people pick up on stuff and it gains power as people they almost wake up and say, oh, wait a minute, this is a bridge too far. I think that's happened many times in our history. In my memory, certainly with Vietnam, civil rights, 1968, for some reason, people really woke up to what was going on in the world, and young people were very, very upset. Now with social media, that is snowballed. That is so much more powerful, and it has so much more impact. It's always going to be emotional and non-rational, but I don't think it's necessarily bad if people's heart gets touched and they say, we got to do this. Is too much. We got to do something about this. I think that's probably a good thing.
Interesting you brought up Vietnam, because I think a lot of the anti-war kind of movement there was fueled a lot by the media, like photos from the battlefield, videos.
We'd never seen it before. Yes.
Never seen it. And like Napalm Girl, it was horrific images that really activated people. And I think we're seeing a lot of the same thing now.
Exactly the same. Yeah. It's the first time we saw a war. It was on live TV every night, I remember. And there would be a body count every week. And you'd know how many people died on their side and on our side. And it was very much present in the American psyche. And it really did lead to the unrest in the late 60s and early 70s because we were seeing it. We couldn't hide it. And I think that it's normal. Humans hide from terrible things as long as they can. But when they finally are forced to see it, and this is the power of television in the 60s and the power now of social media today, they start to act with their heart. I don't think that's a bad thing. It may not be fully rational or fully informed, but I think that's important.
Yeah, the only thing that's difficult in this case is you don't know anymore if the video is real.
Right.
You don't know if the image is real. Right. Whereas in the Vietnam War case, I think there was very much an understanding that a journalist went to the battlefield or went to a village and they captured that image.
Yeah.
Right. And now if you see some horrific video, it could be very easily AI generated. It could be generated by a Hamas terrorist to target you to change your opinion. So it's kind of a different beast. And that was what we were talking about earlier is are your opinions your own, or like what is this content you're looking at? It's impossible to know. Yeah.
It's funny that we look back at the time, we thought TV was too powerful. People were very concerned about its impact on the nation's youth. My parents would only let me watch half an hour a night. Now, I mean, that was nothing compared to the power of social media, TikTok, Instagram, Reels, and fake news. The difference, I guess, in the 60s where there was a handful of people who controlled all the news. It was the nation's networks and a few big newspapers. admittedly, they controlled it and they steered it, but it was just a handful of people. Now anybody can do it, including people from Russia and China and, overseas. And so,
yeah,
it's a very powerful tool. It's incredibly powerful.
It's a great era to live in because you're going to hear from viewpoints you might not have heard from before, because ultimately, top-down control of the media is bad. And I think maybe like the downside is that, we have a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And the most like we've talked about through the segment, the most clicky and the most emotion-inspiring thing will sort of be the thing that takes the day. And oftentimes big, important stories we should be paying attention to are left behind. No one cares about them.
But you have an opportunity. Every one of us has an opportunity to try to tell those stories.
Well, I think it should be starting to be taught in school how to identify what's real and not online.
Oh, I
think
bet.
that should
Absolutely.
be taught.
Debunked.
Yes.
Prebunked.
It should be prebunked. Yeah, which
Prebunked.
again, I think is just educational videos.
Right.
What we really need is ultrasonic coffee, so we're all on our toes here and we're able to figure out.
All right.
The truth.
I'm going to have some ultrasonic coffee. I hope you will, Bill, as well, while we take a little time out to thank our final sponsor of the show today. And it's a company you probably know, and you should know if you don't. Lookout. Today, every company, it's every story we cover these days. Every company is a data company. And every company is at risk, like Ticketmaster. Cyber threats, breaches, leaks, these are the new norm. And cyber criminals are getting better by the minute. They're using AI to get smarter. And, of course, your data is now everywhere. There are no longer any boundaries. So what it means for your data to be secured has completely changed. That's why you need Lookout. From the first phishing text to the final data grab, Lookout stops modern breaches as swiftly as they unfold, whether on a device, in the cloud, across networks, working remotely at the local coffee shop. Lookout gives you clear visibility into all your data, where it is, what it's doing at rest and in motion. You can monitor, assess, and protect, but you don't have to give up productivity for security. That's really important. With a single unified cloud platform, Lookout simplifies and strengthens. Having too many tools is actually a disadvantage. Stuff gets lost between the cracks. It's confusing. It's hard to use. Lookout reimagines security for the world that will be, but it does it right now. Visit lookout.com today to learn how to safeguard data, secure hybrid work, and reduce IT complexity. Lookout.com. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech, our show. Hey, I should end with some good news. The IRS says it was a success. Their free tax filing alternative was a success. The direct file pilot program, they're going to roll it out in all 50 states, much to the dismay of TurboTax. For years, the tax preparation software lobby kept IRS from doing this. I don't know what happened, but the digital tool that the IRS tried last year is now permanent. A direct file pilot program saved last year 140,000 individuals an estimated $5.6 million in filing costs. Of course, TurboTax is going, that was our money. Not only is the program here to stay, but its access is expanding. This year it was 12 states. Next year, all 50 states and the District of Columbia for the 2025 filing season. That is really, really, I think, good news. It's funny, though, Engadget calls it a free TurboTax alternative. Oh, no, they're talking about right now, the TurboTax free plan only works for taxpayers with the simple 1040 Easy. Treasury wants to expand to the reach and tax scope it offers in coming years. So if you have a more complicated, I still have to go to a CPA. I need people with big degrees to figure out what the hell I owe, which is crazy.
I'm with you, Leo.
That's crazy.
Yes.
This whole system is...
That's crazy. In Scandinavia, they mail you a postcard saying, we think you owe this much. Does that sound right?
Yep.
And then they take it. No, Americans wouldn't like that. But at the same time, I think we've got a system that's way too
It's a
complicated.
step in the right direction. Yeah.
Like that whole month.
The fact that the government didn't have this before, it's ridiculous.
Well, and I really think you can blame Intuit and H&R Block and the other tax prep software companies, which went to great expense brought lots of
I
money
am
to members of
optimistic
Congress.
today.
Yeah.
Think about it. Today we talked about taking Ticketmaster and Live Nation to task and making it easier to file taxes.
Yeah.
This is progress, folks. For the
Yeah.
people.
This
Not
is
only
a big
that-
one. It's hard to think anyone would disagree with this one. Obviously, hopefully the software works is really the big question. I haven't used it.
Did any of you
As
file with a federal thing?
Not this free thing. No.
No. So
I used a
there you
really
go.
budget one called Tax Slayer because it was the cheapest one.
And the math was mostly right?
It's been right. I've been using it for a while, but I mean, I think this software is so overdue. I went to a public library around tax season last year with my nieces, and the public library was having a workshop, a free workshop on how to file your taxes. And it was intensive and it felt almost criminal. I was like, I can't believe that our tax system is so convoluted that all these people have come to this library for a free workshop on how to file your taxes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
My mom is 91, and for the last 6 or 7 years, I've been doing her taxes because she can't do her, and they're not complicated, so it doesn't make sense for her to spend $300 on a tax preparer to do something that takes me literally 10 minutes. But it shouldn't be that way, and so I think this is good.
Well, that raises an important issue. Can older people use this new system?
I am so proud because for the first time this year, I got my tax form was the 1040 SR. Did you know there was a 1040 SR? It's the 1040 for seniors.
Oh.
Wow. Is the font huge?
Yes, that's exactly the difference. The 1040 SR has bigger check boxes and bigger text.
Wait, I want that version.
That's when you know you're old.
I feel like I've paid enough. Just let me alone. Like I paid
You're
enough
right.
already.
It's my
I'm done with this.
They didn't used to tax Social Security. They do now. Thank you, Ronald Reagan.
Of course.
They used to be
Wow.
that was tax-free income. Now I have to pay income tax on my Social Security. It's all right. I can't afford rent on what they pay me in Social Security anyway. So might as well just take it
At
all.
least you're going to have Social Security, Leo.
You might not. You guys, you young people, you us olders will fight for. We're going to fight for you so you have Social Security, even if it takes every penny you make. Here's some good news. The Tribeca Film Festival has decided to have an AI-generated short film festival. OpenAI's Sora, which apparently can do clips as long as a minute now. The Tribeca Film Festival announced Friday it will host Sora Shorts, 5 original short films, all made using OpenAI's text-to-video AI model, Sora.
Nobody tells Scarlett Johansson.
How do by the way, I'm sad because I really liked having ScarJo in my phone to answer my questions. And I don't like the voice. It's not good. You want to hear did I do it already? Did I do it for you?
I don't think so.
Tell me a question to ask. How much
Fine
money?
international trash.
What? Oh, that's good. Hey, I got a question for you. What is international trash?
International trash usually refers to waste materials that are transported across international borders. This can include various types of waste, such as household garbage, industrial waste, electronic waste, e-waste, and hazardous materials. Countries may export waste to other nations for recycling or disposal
No.
due to economic...
Wait a minute. No, I'm talking about international trash on a flight, like on an airplane. Is there something special that has to be done if the trash is international on the airplane? This is a good test.
I got it. Yes, there are special procedures for handling international trash on flights. Trash from international flights is often subject to strict regulations to prevent the spread of diseases and pests.
Well, there you go. You see? That's 5-hour delay was definitely necessary. But now,
Oh my God.
What'd you think of that voice? Didn't like that voice.
I would have preferred.
Not as good.
No, I want ScarJo.
Yeah.
I was very sad.
I can't believe we've talked about international trash this entire show, and we haven't talked about how North Korea is sending balloons, hot air balloons with trash on the bottom, into South Korea. Hundreds of them. You guys know about this?
No.
I'm familiar with
Oh,
this.
yes. Oh, yes. They are sending balloons with trash to South Korea.
Is
And
that
South Korea,
like launching cows on a catapult across the river
So,
into the town?
effectively.
Yes,
and
it's
South
the
Korea
same.
is like, what the hell? And North Korea has the most hilarious response. Its response is basically, shut up, loser. It's not like we're shooting bullets at you.
This is the world we live in.
Is it they want to get rid of
It's
the
also
trash,
poo.
or
It's
is it
also
like
poo. Somebody in the thing
okay,
is saying
it includes
sewage as well.
human waste.
Doesn't the U.S. send like nuclear waste to China or something because we don't want to process it?
No, this is not asked for balloons filled with trash and sewage.
So it's like sending
Going
an
in-
email repeatedly
It's
to
just
someone who doesn't want
it's to
read
be an
it.
annoyance.
Landing on people's windshields and breaking them.
Okay,
hilarious. And also a
earlier
little bit
Sunday,
unnerving.
this is from the Associated Press, South Korea's military said that more than 700 balloons flown from North Korea were discovered in various parts of the southern country, in addition to about 260 balloons found a few days earlier. Tied to the balloons were manure, cigarette butts, scraps of cloth, waste paper, and vinyl, but no dangerous substances.
That is international trash.
They said they flew 3,500 balloons carrying 15 tons of waste paper. They said that they decided to take unbearable measures.
I think it's hilarious that we're talking about this instead of Sora at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
that speaks volumes of
Although-
like how interesting that is.
In a way, maybe you could do a movie about international traffic.
International
from North
trash.
Korea.
Well, you could do a silent
Yeah.
film because apparently it's 60 seconds, but there's no audio. So you could do
Oh.
a silent
No,
film
that's
about
no
an
good.
airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no good.
Or you can have an AI voice narrate it.
A
you?
Swiss company, now this actually scares the hell out of me, has developed a CPU from lab-grown human brains. What do you think? A computer that uses, now they aren't dead people, but they've been growing brain cells. This is a Tom's Hardware story. It uses 16 human brain organoids for 1 million times less power consumption. This is how, by the way, we're going to get AI without a lot of power consumption than a digital chip. The Swiss biocomputing startup has launched an online platform that provides remote access to 16 human brain organoids. The company's called Final Spark. They say it's the world's first cloud platform delivering access to biological neurons. Yeah, I think so.
Looking up organoid.
Organoids.
Don't let Ron DeSantis know about this because lab-grown meat is going to get banned in Florida.
Why is he
So,
banning lab-grown meat?
I think he's just a true Americans believe in real meat from animals type of guy.
So bizarre.
Our meat is so far from real anyway.
I
Might as well make it
know.
in a lab.
Okay, so it's called a MIA,
This is
M-E-A, a multi-electrode array, which houses the living tissue organoids, 3D cell masses of brain tissue. Each MIA holds 4 organoids. It sounds like I'm talking nonsense. Each MIA holds 4 organoids interfaced by 8 electrodes used for both stimulation and recording. Data goes to and fro via digital analog converters, the Intan RHS32 controller, with seems like something Elon would do, with a 30 kilohertz sampling frequency and a 16-bit resolution. See, it's better than a CD. These key architectural design features are supported by a microfluidic life support system for the MIAs and monitoring cameras. Last but not least, a software stack allows researchers to input data variables, then read and interpret the processor output. I don't know whether to be terrified or to laugh.
Is it like a lab grown chip?
I guess. It
Could it help
sells
the chip shortage? Then that
brain
could be
cells. Yeah.
I think this thing will, like, we're going to hear about so many different ways of, like, trying to continue to advance artificial intelligence. We're going to hear about the synthetic ways. We're going to hear about biological, a combination of biological and chips. Like, they're almost all going to end up being nothing. But if one works,
Right.
that's going to be cool.
They say
Maybe
it's
this will be
1/6000th of the energy drain of AI microprocessors.
What did I say at the beginning? Once Silicon Valley has a problem, it gets creative and tries to figure out ways to do it. So forget nuclear, forget solar. It's that organoid lab-grown brain that's going to get us there.
Last story, former OpenAI director Helen Toner, who was one of the directors who fired Sam Altman in a brief coup d'etat, finally has come clean as to why. She was talking on the TED AI show. She said, when ChatGPT came out in November 2022, the board was not informed in advance. We learned about ChatGPT on Twitter. She also said that Sam Altman said he's famously always said, I don't have a stake, I don't have any financial gain from OpenAI. But she also said he didn't disclose his involvement with OpenAI's startup fund. He had a big stake in that. He also, on multiple occasions, she said, gave us inaccurate information about the formal safety processes that the company had in place, meaning it was basically impossible for the board to know how well those safety processes were working or what might need to change. All four of us came to the conclusion we just couldn't believe things that Sam was telling us. Of course, they attempted to fire Sam until Microsoft, their big funder, and Satya Nadella screamed bloody murder. Sam said, I'm going to bring the entire OpenAI team to Microsoft, so screw you. The board's gone. Sam's got a much better, at least from his point of view, board that he appointed, and all is right again with OpenAI. But now we know why that happened. Do we care? Does it say anything about OpenAI?
Yeah, I listened to the episode the podcast where she's talking about it. And of course, it's always hard when it's a single source of information. So it's just this one woman. But I do feel like she references a couple other people. Like she says like, multiple executives came forth and had concerns about him. She also talks about 2 previous positions that he held at Y Combinator and then the startup Looped before that. And he was fired from both for similar reasons. So she kind of tries to draw on examples outside of herself. And I think for me, I'm kind of a believer in like where there's smoke, there's fire. And I feel like there's been enough that's come out about Sam Altman, like from his sister even, who has come out against him. And there's just so many little things here and there, the ScarJo thing. I'm just not sure if he's a good guy. Right now, it certainly has in a negative PR moment. And so people have concerns apparently at the company if he is of the right character to go towards things called AGI and to be building these systems that are supposed to represent humanity.
Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, said, to be clear, he tweeted this, we didn't fire Sam. We just said you can't work for 2 companies, you have to choose. And he chose to work for OpenAI instead of Y Combinator. You don't buy that? That
sounds like a firing to me.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a firing.
You have to choose.
You can either work here or you can work there. And he's like, I'm going to work here. And then the next step is, you're not fired. Okay, so I can stay. No, you're fired, right? Like it's a firing.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I listened to parts of this podcast and I read Helen Toner and Tasha McCauley also had an op-ed in The Economist. And to me, this seems honestly like the structure of OpenAI from the very beginning was naive, right? And so they even ask in their op-ed, can private companies pushing forward the frontier of a revolutionary new technology be expected to operate in the interests of both their shareholders and the wider world? And they answer, with AI's enormous potential for both positive and negative impact, it's not sufficient to assume that such incentives will always be in line with the public good, and they basically say we need government to step in and regulate. Like, I just feel like this whole setup, this whole structure, this whole belief that OpenAI would be a nonprofit but needed $13 billion from Microsoft to actually operate, and that the board would eventually like have like the discretion and at the very right time when something was going wrong, fire Sam Altman or to fire the CEO. The whole setup is kind of ridiculous. Like it's just like a naive perception of the way these things work.
Yeah.
It was doomed. I hear what Helen Toner is saying, but it also is like, it's clear like it was a power struggle. Like the mandate was not like if the board feels slighted by the CEO, fire him. It's if the board, feels like he's like taking this in, they're going to reach AGI and it's unsafe, fire him. Just wasn't, it wasn't it. Like the fact that you found out from ChatGPT, I'm sorry, like I don't really feel like that's like living up to the mission. And once again, I feel like the entire setup here was a little bit ridiculous to begin with. So maybe it's good for everybody that like there's a much more straightforward, although still flawed structure to OpenAI's board now.
It's a good point. I think it's hard to know if it's the structure or if it's Sam Altman's personality. And she's saying there's an element to this that was his personality and that it's unacceptable that the board heard about ChatGPT on Twitter and he should have been more communicative. And I think that's probably true.
Yeah, but they also had like 95% of the employees wanted him to stay. And Ilya Sutskever, who was like one of the biggest leaders of this, decided to go back on what his word was there.
He's gone now, by the way. Left.
Now he's left. I mean,
she
it's sort of hard
addresses
to stay after all that.
She says that basically there's a culture of a lot of people who are afraid to come out against him because he has retaliated against a lot of people, including Helen Toner, which is maybe one red flag on her perspective, that maybe she has a bone to pick with him and maybe we shouldn't believe her totally. But I don't know. It's like, do we dismiss all this or not?
She wrote a paper that he was unhappy about, right?
He wasn't happy about a paper and he tried to get her off the board. So maybe she got him back. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a pretty weak argument to be like, they were afraid of him when they had fired him. Like if they were actually afraid of him.
No, the employees that you're saying who supported him.
I'm saying the employees. He was a fired CEO. He was not the CEO. Like, I don't.
She says they were presented with internally the perception at OpenAI became if he's not reinstated, then the company disbands.
Well, I mean,
and that became how people.
Yeah, and her action could have led that to have happened. So it was not.
Or they could have installed a new CEO.
They did. They put Mira Murati in. No, they put Mira Murati in, and they said they were looking for somebody new. They actually then put somebody else in. It was a complete bungling. But I think that she's trying to rewrite history now, and like an episode, I think for everybody that will always be looked at as somewhat embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just see the makings of another completely megalomaniac tech leader, and I'm just like, at what point do we stop creating these humans? And
I agree 100%.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're just going to dismiss Helen Toner, and it's going to keep going and going, and there'll be more people like him. It's just never ending.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, well, anyway, I mean, look, I think that OpenAI, that's assuming OpenAI will continue to build on its strength. And we now know that after this episode, Microsoft has, started to build within its company its own AI capabilities, that it will try not to be as reliant on OpenAI as it was previously. And now OpenAI is going to make this deal with Apple, but we know that Apple is going to try to develop internally as well. So let's. I feel like the book is not finished yet in terms of what's going to happen here with OpenAI and Sam.
That is on the calendar a week from tomorrow, a week from Monday, June 10th, Apple's WWDC keynote. Widely rumored that not only will they talk about AI in iOS 18 and macOS 15, but they will announce a partnership with OpenAI. Mark Gurman says that's a done deal. They continue to negotiate with Google, that they will add add AI to Siri, not immediately. Gurman's now saying next year. But AI will come to the iPhone. And as many have pointed out, it doesn't have to be the best. It just has to be the most, because there's so many installed base of users, which is close to 2 billion people, is enough to take whatever Apple does and make it the most important AI going.
I can't wait. I'm flying out to California.
Are you?
So
coming out for it?
I don't know if I'm going to get in or not. I'm still waiting to hear, but I'll be out in California, and I'm stoked for it.
I should just go one day, go up to the door and just knock and say, I'm here. Yeah. Just see what they do.
It's a pretty impressive campus. I have to
bet
say.
it is.
I've been in I've been inside their like cafeteria area
nice.
and their and the Steve Jobs Theater, and they really did a nice job with that campus. So hopefully we see it.
Well, let us know. Go out, knock on the door. I wish you luck getting in. Nobody gets to see the wizard. Nobody. No how.
Exactly.
It sounds like he's important and he got an official invite. So
did you get an invite?
No, I have not. I mean, I'm speaking with their PR team. If they're listening now and want to let me let me in,
they don't listen to this show. They don't like me at all. I haven't had an invite in years.
Yeah, if I'm not invited, I definitely will have to stand outside Apple headquarters with a big poster
With a
board,
sign,
a big
yeah.
technology podcast
The end is
QR
nigh,
code,
yeah.
and be like, for analysis after the show,
Yeah.
scan here.
Do not tell them you know me. I would recommend just pretending you've never heard of me. Is
I think
probably-
at this
I'll
point,
be rooting
yeah,
for you if you actually do that.
Wouldn't
I'll
that
come
be
by
cool?
and give you a sandwich or something.
that'll be my next. I'll have a couple cardboards, and then if I'm not in, I'll be like, scan for the big technology podcast analysis, and my next one will be like, by the way, I know Leo.
It's going to throwing international trash out the windows towards you. That is
God.
Alex Kantorowicz. He hosts the Big Technology Podcast, writes the Big Technology newsletter. It was great to see Louise Matsakis on there the other day.
Oh, yes. Yeah, she wrote a great story for Big Technology and then came on the podcast afterward to discuss it. So
No kidding.
She's awesome.
We love her, and I'm glad to see her doing some stuff. She wrote about Shein and Temu and Amazon.
I worked with her at a Motherboard. Back
She's
in the
great.
day.
Yeah. We've
She
had
is
her on
so
many times.
talented.
Yeah.
The story she sent in was just like perfect story. And I was like, I'm basically running this as is, which is
Nice.
like, hasn't happened before.
Nice.
So-
Did she provide the AI illustration, or did you?
I did that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is that Jeff Bezos?
That's cool, right? That's Jeff
very
Bezos looking at some sort of casino-like shopping experience. It turned out nice.
Are you using exclusively AI-generated thumbnails now? Yeah, it looks like it. I like this one.
Not
That's a good
100% exclusive. Like, oh yeah, I like to do it kind of like the black and white sketches.
Yeah.
But I had I actually had an email exchange with Elon about one of their products that they were building within X, and just kind of posted Grok.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know how to illustrate this, so I just hit 2 screenshots and put Elon's photo in the middle and was like, this is going to be our art.
That's better.
It worked.
That's good. That's good. He's no longer
Thanks for
chief
checking out,
twit,
Leo.
I'm glad to say. Thank you.
That's
subscribe. I subscribe. You should all subscribe.
you,
Alex
Leo.
is really wired into what's happening in Silicon Valley. BigTechnology.com. Of course, I've been a member of Consumers Union, now Consumers Report. I know it's so long. I've called it Consumers Union since the 80s, I think.
It's been a while. It's been
Yeah.
around for almost 100 years.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've been subscribing that long. But
well,
ever since I had to buy my own furniture and weapons and things. That's where Nicholas De Leon hangs his hat, senior electronics reporter there at Consumer Reports, explaining to the normies
trying to.
good luck. Whew.
I see all this stuff all day, every day, and I'm like, how do I explain this to like just a mom with like kids and like a job? Does she care?
Such an
That's
important
actually where most of
job.
my like CPU power goes. Is like, does this even rise to their level of like,
It's such an important job. I really appreciate that you do it, and I'm so glad you flew up here from Tucson.
Yes.
To see us. We're gonna go. You and I and Ashley are gonna go out to dinner after this.
I believe so.
It'll be fun. Lisa's coming too. Emily, you'd be invited if you were anywhere near here, but I guess the international trash kept you from visiting. PCMag.com, and of course every month your co-host Tech News Weekly with Micah, and the new Twitter handle is electric_humans.
Yes. Yeah, this was really fun. I would love to come be in the studio sometime.
Oh, please do. We would love to have you.
It'd be
up here.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex, I want to talk to you after this because I used to work at Amazon for 5.5 years. So I'm curious what you got in your book, and I got a lot of information too.
Excellent. Yes.
Ooh.
Tip box is open.
Ooh.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm liking
you let me
that.
know if you want to know how that company works. I was a star when I worked there. I know how it goes.
Really? What did you
Awesome.
do at Amazon? Product management?
Yeah, I was product management, technical product management. But there's just a way that you kind of behave and you progress projects through Amazon when you're like a high performer. And I just I knew how to do that, and I just knew how projects move there. I'm kind of an expert in.
Did you cry at your desk every day, Emily?
No.
Okay.
I cried one time. I cried one time in front of my manager. But I think that was the only time.
Remember, I'm not being sexist here. That was the report from inside Amazon, was that was the culture,
Yeah.
and that you really weren't an Amazon executive if you didn't cry at your desk at least once a day. I guess that's not
No
true.
one was crying.
No one was
No,
crying.
I
But you
mean,
did have a door desk, right? With the sawhorses in the door?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had
they make them electronic now, so they're not like actually doors, just like a blonde colored desk.
Oh, pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. I hope you two talk.
I just added you on LinkedIn. I have some questions for you.
All right, let's do it.
Great to have you, Emily. Great to meet you finally. Nicholas, so nice to have you in studio, sitting right next to me. That's fantastic. Alex, thank you as always. Thanks to our Club Twit members who make this show possible. And that sounds like, that's kind of the usual statement, but really, it really is sincerely true. We have almost 12,000 members now in our club, and that just about covers half of our payroll. So thank you. I appreciate it. Without you, we'd have half as many people working here. How about that? Times are tough right now for podcasts and podcast networks. We started the club 2 years ago. I'm so glad we did. Lisa was prescient. She understood that we needed to do that. Now, we've kept it affordable, $7 a month. We give you some benefits, including ad-free versions of all of our shows. You get video for shows that we only put out in audio, like Hands on Macintosh with Micah, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, the Untitled Linux Show, Home Theater Geeks. You also get access to the Discord, where not all 12,000 club members are in there. You don't have to be in there, but it's a great place to hang, to talk about the shows while they're going on, but talk about everything geeks are interested in all the time. And then what else do you get? You get special events that we don't put out in public. Lisa made spaghetti sauce a couple of months ago. That was fun. Our famous bolognese. We had a watch party. We all watched the Fritz Lang movie Metropolis together last month. Stacy's book club is coming up in just a little bit. It's a club of people you would love, talking about stuff you care about, and it helps us stay on the air. I mean, come on. Why aren't you a member? twit.tv/club Twit. We thank all of our Club Twit members for making this show possible. Thanks to our producer, Benito Gonzalez, behind the board and making the calls and putting the notes together. Thank you, Benito, for the job you do. Our studio manager, John Slanina, Burke McQuinn, who keeps things from breaking, and when they break, fixes them. Thanks to all of you for being here. We will. We are now our 20th year of doing this show. Whew. Wow. And as I have said at the end of every show for the last 20 years, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
This is amazing.